welcome to Doors and Corners, a sci-fi and fantasy film commentary podcast. I'm Brian.
And I'm Zach. And every Friday we sit down and watch a science fiction or fantasy film and give our 2 cents on its quality, production, story, and trivia.
We watch the film together, but without sounds or visuals provided to avoid copyright issues. But if you do have access, we encourage you to join us and follow along.
Here, we like to keep things casual, and there may be discussions of spoilers or sensitive materials or language. But we do try and keep things clean and family-friendly. Ultimately, the goal of this podcast is to create the experience of us all sitting down and watching this movie together.
So get ready to hit that play button, because we're about to get started.
Damn Doors and Corners, I mean, that's where they get you.
Welcome back to Doors and Corners. I'm Brian.
Doors and Corners. I'm Zach.
And we are going to start this thing after quite a bit of pre-episode chat, which we love doing. You guys don't get any of that. Maybe I'll give it to you one day.
We were talking about Andor. We were talking about Star Trek, Starfleet Academy. We were talking about Brandon Sanderson and Apple. And essentially, I told my wife that we were starting 43 minutes ago. So, whoopsie daisies.
And this is such a short movie, right? two and a half hours.
Yeah, incredibly short movie.
But
tonight we are watching the Avengers 2, Age of Ultron, which much like Transformers Age of Extinction and X-Men Age of Apocalypse, the title's really a misnomer and there's no Age of.
Yeah, this is a couple days.
There's no Age of. This is the couple days of Ultron. This is Weekend at Ultron's. It's like it's the name of a comic. I get it. It's wrong.
Well, and we talked about this, I know, with Iron Man 3, I think I brought this up. The one downside to doing a cinematic universe like this with films is you do have to burn through some pretty big, high-profile characters from the comics in a very short amount of time because you can't... I mean, Thanos is the closest they got, and even he actually only got 2 films where he was, an actual character.
Yeah.
When we did, Guardians of the Galaxy a few weeks back, I mean, yeah, he's in that, but he's not a character. He's a plot device.
Yeah.
And so that's the closest they got to giving a villain an arc. And it is a shame because, as we will get into in depth, I'm sure, this is a frustrating film for me. I suspect it's similar for you.
It is, because part of it is the fact that, in researching this movie, I found out that there were a whole bunch of things that were changed during production and post-production that would have made the movie a lot better and would have made choices a little bit more forgivable. I do want to acknowledge, this is a movie that's directed by Joss Whedon. He's very firmly canceled for having some, really terrible behavior before and after this. Really, diving into that was interesting in and of itself because, all these accusations came out from his time on Buffy and on Angel, and then accusations during his time on Justice League about 3 years after this movie. And from the sound of it and people close to him, it sounds like he was changing and doing as trying to be a better person, and the nervous breakdown that he suffered from this movie kind of broke him, and he turned back into a raging asshole, and now he's in exile. Probably still writing for film and television under a different name, though.
Oh, I would imagine that there's plenty of people who would say, hey, well, we still need you to give us some of that's Joss Whedon seasoning in our writing, but we obviously can't, have you. But I mean, writers work under ghost names all the time, so I have no idea, but I wouldn't be shocked at all. And it is a shame because he is a talented guy. There is no doubt about that. It's just unfortunate that his personal demons came out the way they did and hurt so many people along the way.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
I think that his vision of this movie would have been better than what we got. Because I was blaming him for years for a whole bunch of the problems in this movie that I don't think were actually his fault anymore. I think that he kind of got slapped with them, and I think it was more the Marvel creative team who... Kevin Feige is kind of the bridge, or was the bridge, between the Marvel Creative Oversight Committee and the directors. And he would kind of help them work together because those particular groups, the directors and the Oversight Committee, pretty much never got along, apparently.
Oh, yeah. Well, you have... a good director, by definition, is going to be a strong personality, right? Most of them are.
Mhm.
I mean, that is quite a chaotic machine that they've got to wrangle to get a movie made. You know, if you've studied filmmaking at all, you know that a big movie, especially a blockbuster film, is just a massive undertaking with so many moving parts. And
Mhm.
the what people who are really strong natured and creative love are other people's input, right, Zach? I mean, they love it, they
Mhm.
welcome it, they just
Oh
can't get
yeah.
enough of it. And so and I'm sure that people who were in, I mean, I'm assuming here a little bit, so tell me if I'm way off, but I'm assuming that the people running Marvel, on the comic side of things, who kind of, Marvel, the company proper, they feel a real sense of ownership of these things, that, kind of the comics are kind of the real lifeblood of what this is. And, film and TV are kind of just these secondary things to them as far as what they feel. I would assume something like that behind the scenes
I've run into that
existed.
sentiment a few times. Not necessarily among writers. I think that they're kind of coached not to say stuff like
Oh
that
yeah,
because it could theoretically hurt revenue.
yeah,
But I've definitely run into that sentiment among the fans.
yeah. But when I say this movie is frustrating to me, is there is there is a version of this film that I think could have been the best Avengers film made. I
I agree. It's probably lost in the 3 hour and 40 minute cut that was the initial
Yeah, because
edit.
there's some themes in this that I adore, just from a generic science fiction point of view. I mean, and anytime you want to get into artificial intelligence and the nature of trying to save something by trying to control it a little too much, and just the hubris of of a main character who has good intentions but is also his own worst enemy. And I mean, there's so many
Hmm.
themes in this that I love, and visually I think
Same.
that there's some really good, like, this is a, and I listened to Joss Whedon's commentary on this film, and one thing he brought up is that he really was trying to up his game visually. We've talked at length about, as much as I like the first Avengers, it looks like a really expensive TV movie at times.
Yeah,
And
lots of really flat lighting.
yeah, this movie, I think he really upped his game as far as the visual, and he was trying
Hmm.
to. This is a much prettier movie than the first Avengers. Not always. There's definitely some points where it could be better, but and I mean, there's just, this has, I think we talked about it. Not counting the stealth suit, is this like Cap's best suit I think he ever had in this movie.
Yeah, I personally think that this is Captain America's best suit. It's the most comic accurate, well looking, cool on screen.
Yeah, there's the Hulkbuster armor and just all that looks amazing. You have some fantastic
Hmm.
secondary performances. I mean, Andy Serkis is a huge standout. This was his introduction. There was a lot going on. James Spader's voice work as Ultron is so good. My
Oh, I
goodness.
love him so
Yeah.
much.
So I mean, there's a lot. I mean, we got to jump into this because we'll be talking about this as we go. But there is
Yeah.
a long and impressive list of people who worked on this film. Zach, why don't you
Yeah,
fill us
okay,
in?
so we're going to be talking today about Avengers Age of Ultron. From the year of our Lord 2015, rated PG-13, it is 2 hours and 21 minutes long, which is going to come out to about 2 hours and 15 minutes with credits. Written by Joss Whedon, directed by Joss Whedon. This is the last Avengers movie to have been written and directed by the same person and only one person. They started teaming people up after this one. All right, the stars. We have Robert Downey Jr., Chris Evans, Mark Ruffalo, Chris Hemsworth, Scarlett Johansson, Jeremy Renner, James Spader, Samuel L. Jackson, Don Cheadle, Aaron Taylor Johnson, Elizabeth Olsen, Paul Bettany, Kobe Smulders, Anthony Mackie, Idris Elba, Linda Cardinelli, and Haley Atwell. I didn't need to say Haley Atwell or Idris Elba. Sir Idris Elba, he is now, I should say, because they're kind of glorified cameos, but the rest of them have pretty good parts to play.
Yeah, I Paul Bettany. Oh man, he's just what a
And
treasure.
Andy Serkis.
And Andy's, yeah.
Oh, I I was not sure about Vision, okay? I was not sure about Vision when they were announcing all this. I remember that first piece of art that came out and you just see him kind of in the back in like the upper corner and he's all blurry fighting some Ultron bots and I'm like, I don't know about this because I just read some comics with young Ultra or not young Ultron, young Vision where he was kind of like remade after being killed and he was actually dating Ant-Man's daughter. Like literally the character who was the main character in Ant-Man Quantumania, the little girl who appears in Ant-Man after this, and they're like engaged in the comics.
Okay.
Like yeah, just weird stuff happens between comics and movies, right? But anyway, because Vision died and then they rebuilt him, and but he's more like a son than he is a resurrection type of deal. But it's just like I didn't really like the character, and he seemed like a little bit too powerful. He was often compared to Marvel's version of Superman. Like he's one of those characters where people are just like, "Oh, Vision versus Superman, who's going to win?" And there's a big question mark because, and I wasn't really sure. And he is literally my favorite part of this movie, and that is 95% because of Paul Bettany's performance.
Yeah. I'm so glad that
like,
they got him, after being the voice of Jarvis. Obviously, he's a fantastic actor. But the fact that they stuck with him and didn't just use his voice or something and gave him I'm so glad about that.
Well, apparently the idea first came about during the filming of the first Avengers movie. Paul Bettany was much beloved by the cast and by Joss Whedon doing the voice of Jarvis, and Joss Whedon really wanted to do Ultron and Vision, which is actually one of the weird things we're going to be talking about while watching the movie, is because the movie ended up the way that it is kind of frustrating, as we've talked about, because Joss Whedon really, really wanted to do Vision and Ultron, while the studio really, really wanted to do the Infinity Saga. So it was causing some issues incorporating the Infinity Saga into the Ultron Saga. And this is where we have ended up. Ready to get started?
Yeah. We will have a lot to talk about here. Because I am far, far less informed about the comic background of a lot of these characters than you are. So I'll be interested to get your insight into some stuff. But yeah, let's get ready to hit that play button. In 3, 2, 1, go.
Play. Yeah, this whole movie, I had a very low of, not very low, but I was constantly putting it in like the 5 worst MCU movies for a while. And after going back to it, after several years of not watching it, and some re-examinations and watching Avengers and this back to back, I'm like, dang, you know what? This movie actually has a lot of really good stuff in it.
No, I can't think of a single official list that does it this way. But if you ask me what do you want to watch, I would usually take this over the first Avengers movie. I think the first Avengers movie might technically be better. I'm not entirely sure. There's an interesting conversation there.
I don't think that I think that this is actually a better film, despite having kind of more glaring problems.
Yeah. Yeah, I think, and we talked about this at length, so I don't want to revisit the whole conversation, but I think that the first Avengers movie gets a lot of help from just what a big deal it was when it came out, and a lot of, kind of nostalgic glasses when it comes to that. And I'm very, very, very guilty of nostalgic glasses myself, so I'm not trying to, not trying to be a hypocrite about it, but there's so many great parts in this movie. This whole opening sequence, quite solid.
Yeah, it's a little much. There's some wonky CGI, but I don't mind it.
Well, right back there when Thor was, Thor's got a couple of those specifically, I feel like.
I think that the lighting, it's because it's specifically with Thor. I think that the lighting and Thor's cape don't get along. The environment of this snowy forest and Thor's cape don't get along, and I think that they had some trouble with that.
Yeah. This is such a nice... we jump right to this. Oh, it's just great. It is a very fun little moment. It's just nice to have not an action sequence. It's not in the city. You know what I mean? It's just there's just something very pleasant about it, and a snowy forest. To me, this also really invokes a lot of I grew up watching a lot of World War II movies, especially
Battle of the
Bulge and stuff like that. So kind of a European snowy forest battle sequence is kind of nostalgic because of that for me.
But yeah, I agree. I like that it's a different setting. I like that they start with a strong action sequence. There's a little bit of confusion because all of a sudden Iron Man has his suits back. After the last movie we saw him, he destroys all of his suits.
Just slipped out.
the whole language thing, that's a joke that's still paying off. Think about, I
Yeah.
mean, Deadpool and Wolverine and having Chris Evans have that incredibly disgusting and raunchy monologue. Like, it's a joke that was created because of the language joke in here.
It also makes sense
but
that Cap would be that way. I'm a little bit stiff, It's just
we also have front and center some of the problems that we have with this movie, which is like these henchmen, but they're the Avengers. And then later, when Iron Man like takes out a whole bunch of them, he's like, "Good talk," and then you have one guy who quips in, "No, it wasn't." It's just like, that's so stupid.
yeah.
Like, why did they allow that in? It's really strange. Yeah.
Yeah.
You talk about something.
The I do. This is one of those movies where I really there needed to be another movie that kind of filled in, here a little bit. There needed to be something with Robert Downey Jr. between Iron Man 3 and this, or at least something that explained it better. Because if you jump right from Iron Man 3 to this, it is a little jarring. It's like, okay, what? There's at least an episode of a TV show here we need to see that kind of
apparently
connects
part of
this.
it was supposed to be that like this is supposed to be very much about examining the weakness of each of the Avengers. And Tony Stark's main thing is that he is an addict, and they wanted to figure out a way to kind of communicate that his addiction is to the suits, is to being Iron Man. And I think that they failed at that. Man.
But even here, just a little bit of the tone of it. I'm sure these are good actors, but just the all right, no surrender. I'm gonna surrender, and just that it's just trying to be funny. I do.
Yeah,
okay.
no, it doesn't really work because that actor is a really competent actor. His name's Thomas Kretschmann. And he's been in a lot of things. I remember him mainly as like the captain in the King Kong, He was in stuff like
Oh, that's
Blade
right.
2 and stuff like that. And he's a fun little actor. And in this, he's just kind of a mustache twirling cartoon villain. The character Baron Wolfgang von Strucker is the character's name from the comics. He's from 1964. He was a villain of he was a Hydra guy, so he's against Nick Fury and Captain America a lot.
I do like that. I do like somebody gonna take care of that bunker. Thank you.
He just gets rid of the bunker.
Yeah, it just you have a Hulk solution there. There a lot of the humor does work. I mean, in this, there's a lot of good moments, especially with the team. But there, like you said, there's definitely some that don't work as well.
Yeah. There's even some humor that apparently doesn't work. Quotes that I actually really liked. That apparently a lot of people really hated, and I didn't realize that. Like there's one, like right here, some people thought that this was stupid, the way that they do this little joint attack. I think it's great.
I love this.
I think that it's like, yeah.
Yeah, no, I love just the whole, oh, well, they're excited, just, especially Chris Evans' delivery of it is so good, just, it also is a great way of showing.
It pays off the first one.
Yeah, it does pay off, and it shows these guys have, for gosh sakes, I'm just laughing watching this. The chemistry between the cast has come a long ways. I feel like. I mean, not come a long ways as though like it was bad in the first movie, but they're showing very effectively. No, it was right there. They say that didn't work for me.
So bad.
The chemistry of these people together is, I think, one of the strongest things of this film.
One of the strongest things, also, because I completely agree, is the little things. One of these one of these Iron Legion robots is voiced by James Spader. I love that he has the Iron Man suit and he's in Sentry mode. They didn't need to do something like that. But it made sense that he'd be like, I'm getting out of the suit, put it in Sentry mode, so it's watching his back. I love this secret door. Like, he's so excited. Like,
yeah.
Yay!
So
that's good humor.
The yay was improv by Robert Downey Jr. the day of. It was just like, yay. No, I apologize. I got that wrong. No, I got that wrong. I'm sorry. It was improv by him back when they were doing the looping later. That it was just silent. And basically Robert Downey Jr. was like, he needs to say something there. There should be something to fill that little moment. So it was him, but it actually was later that was put in, realizing that they needed a little moment there.
So this right here is the beginning of one of the problems, okay? Because, one, I think her hair's awful in this movie. Two,
you didn't like Winter Soldier either.
This idea is really good. The idea of them having this kind of
That is a fantastic shot there, by the way. Like, the CG of, like, Hulk's hand and everything here, that is phenomenal effects work right here. Like, this seems so subtle, but the team at ILM, like, for this, that's good. Sorry.
They were cooking. They were cooking with gas. But it's just like, I love the idea of creating these subliminal triggers that'll actually get him out of a Hulk state. It makes sense that they would experiment with something like that. And with the previous relationship that was set up, I don't hate the original idea, okay? Which Joss Whedon created of having this romantic chemistry between these two that would never work. And they actually come to an agreement later in the movie in a deleted scene where they break up. And it's like, this is a no-go from the beginning, and it was meant to be kind of this showing of these people. They want a future that they can never have, these two. And they have different visions of that, but they were experimenting type of thing. That idea works really well for me. But the producers were like, no. We want to keep that relationship potentially open. And so we end up with this wonky love story that's like the weakest part of this movie. And I hate it, and most other fans really hate it as well, and they never even went anywhere with it.
Yeah. If it had been used better, if it had been done better, I think that there was a version of it that could, like you said, could have been good. But as it sits in this film, it's just useless.
Awful. And I want to talk a little bit about Robert Downey Jr. here, okay? He is the reason this movie happened. The first Avengers movie, they paid the principal actors about $1 million each, and Robert Downey Jr. got $50 million because he negotiated back with when he signed on as Iron Man of getting a percentage of the profits of the movie that made $1 billion. And so he that made him a very rich man. The other actors were like, well, we want to be paid more for the sequel. And the studio was like, no, we're your entire lifeblood. And so a whole bunch of them didn't want to come back because they were going to be underpaid in comparison to Robert Downey Jr. And he wasn't signed on for Age of Ultron, but the production knew that he was going to be the most important one. And he essentially took the side of the actors and said, you're going to pay them more, or this movie's not happening.
I've read that, and yeah, I appreciate that a lot.
Mm-hmm. And of course, here we have the dream sequence. This is the single key moment that sets up everything happening from here on out.
Yeah.
This is supposed to be the ultimate showing of Tony Stark's fears. But because Wanda's powers aren't just illusions, they're actually multiversal, and this has been the plan from the beginning, this is a semi-accurate portrayal of a potential future. This is Thanos' invasion of Earth. The Avengers are all dead, and it's because Iron Man wasn't there. It's because Iron Man didn't help them. Setting up the end of Infinity War. Not the end of Infinity War, the end of Endgame. When the fact is, his presence is the only reason they succeeded.
Yeah.
And he needed to conquer his fears. And that was his fear. It wasn't just that Earth's going to fall, his friends are going to die. It's that he is going to fail. And it's such a great character development in him over the course of time. Also, I have a huge crush on Elizabeth Olsen.
That is a good needle drop, by the way.
Very good needle drop.
Yeah, just because this is not your favorite composer of all time, Danny Elfman, that did this one.
Okay, this is a problem that I have. I am not a big fan of Danny Elfman. However, I think he delivered the single best piece of Avengers music in the entirety of the MCU in this film.
Really? Even more than Al Silvestri?
It's called the... he makes Alan Silvestri's version better. Alan Silvestri has, like, if you listen to the official tracks, there's some kind of like weird techno at the beginning and like hype up music before it gets into the orchestral part. Danny Elfman's adaptation of Alan Silvestri's Avengers theme, it's actually called The New Avengers, is the track title for Age of Ultron, and it is the best rendition of the Avengers theme in the entirety of the Avengers series. It's amazing. I don't like Danny Elfman. I love what he did with this score.
Yeah. You know,
And I don't think Danny Elfman's not talented. It's just I don't tend to like his scores very much.
well, I think you and I both, I think it ties into my feelings on Tim Burton and a lot of that style of stuff because, I mean, the Batman theme that he wrote is one of the best superhero themes ever written. Like for me, it might be the only thing better than it in my mind might be John Williams' Superman when it comes to just like pure superhero like theme, just being iconic. But Jarvis, take the wheel, and then Jarvis is my co-pilot.
Yeah, I know several people who had that.
I mean, and that was Joss Whedon mentioned in his commentary. That was very much yes, they were poking fun at the Jesus Revolution, but they're just having just trying to be fun with it. So it's all right.
Yeah.
But I was just thinking, watching a lot of these scenes, and not that there aren't, I'm not trying to say these guys are all like, Daniel Day-Lewis's, but part of what helps this cast is that you do have people who are not only cast well for their characters, but just solid actors in general. I do not like Mark Ruffalo at all as a human being, but he's a darn good actor. Scarlett Johansson kind of bugs me, but I think that she's a very solid actress. I mean, obviously, Robert Downey Jr. isn't, at this point, he's an Academy Award winner. I think he deserves it. He's a phenomenal performer. And it's just...
I think he should have gotten some sort of Lifetime Achievement Award for just his work as Tony Stark.
Yeah. Because, as again, he elevated that it's so much more than just a comic book character, right? Mm-hmm. He really took it somewhere else. And, I mean, if it... And Chris Evans, and I think Chris Evans is a solid actor. He's not an amazing technical actor, but he plays this role so well.
He's such a good physical actor.
He is.
That's where he really... we just had the introduction of this character played by actress Claudia Kim. She plays Dr. Helen Cho. And she's been in some things here and there, nothing particularly noteworthy for me. But they never brought her back after this, and that was always super weird to me. And I felt like they wanted to set something up, because she's supposed to be in the comics the mother of a character by the name of Amadeus Cho. And he actually bugs me, because he's a little bit too much of a Mary Sue type character. He's a boy genius who's like smarter than Tony Stark, and he actually helps cure the Hulk, but in his hubris, he doesn't just cure the Hulk, he takes the Hulk's abilities for himself, and he becomes the new Hulk, who has more control over his abilities while also being an overly cocky teenager, creating a whole bunch of problems in his own right. And they could do some interesting things with that character, but then they just didn't. They just left Helen Cho here as a hint towards Amadeus's existence.
Well, she is not confirmed. I mean, she gets injured really badly later in this movie in a way that she could be dead.
She could be dead. It's true. But yeah.
It's interesting.
Everything that happens with the movie comes from Tony Stark's insecurity and fears from that moment with Scarlet Witch.
Yeah. Well, I mean, and Joss was talking about this in his commentary. I mean, brought it up many, many times, that this movie absolutely can be watched from the point of view that Tony Stark is the actual villain of the film. And and that was semi-intentional. I mean, not in that he's a villain in the traditional sense, but that he is the cause of just about every bad thing that happens. Yeah. That if he had not been himself, all the problems that they face and the people who lose their lives in this, in the situations that develop, none of it would have happened. And so in that sense, he is the villain of this story. And that is an interesting idea. And it's where I wish they had taken it further. I wish they had gotten more into what that means and how, what his hubris, and that you can talk about it being kind of explored in future films, but Ultron was a really interesting method to get into that, and they just moved on from him. And yeah, they talked about it with Thanos, and they talked about it, in the multiverse and some of that stuff. But this was a much more interesting kind of direct line, from something that he was doing out of his own fears and out of his own arrogance. I mean, that is where the combination of fear and ego is just that's scary, right?
Yeah, it's such an interesting. I mean, that's Anakin Skywalker, fear and ego, right?
Yeah.
It's just so many great villains start with that basis. This is one of those things, like, you could just tell that he's acting at a formless blob, and they just put it in post.
Yeah. Although the effects work happening here, like, just look at like Banner's glasses as he walks around, like the reflection.
Yeah.
Like, they even got like the reflection of these holographic displays and stuff. It is for the little bits of character stuff. Some of this stuff is just, there's so many effects happening in the background of this room.
Mm-hmm.
It's just
you can tell that they really upped their lighting game also.
Yeah. Well, so Whedon was talking about this set being difficult to shoot on. He said because it was so big, there was so much space. Trying to make it look interesting and figure out where actors were supposed to like go and just how to like, kind of stage and structure things in a way that was interesting visually was a real challenge. But he liked it. He liked the challenge of having to figure out a way to keep the just people standing in a room talking and make it look good. What was a good growing experience for him. He was talking about it a lot.
Yeah, it looks like a really good set for a high quality TV show.
Yeah, I could see like the Flash TV show on the CW happening here, right?
Yeah.
Was that Star Labs?
This was shortly after Joss Whedon created Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., and he decided to incorporate some of the stuff into that. So some of these props were actually built for Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. or were later transferred to Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., which I found kind of interesting.
I still need to watch part of that show.
And peace in our time. That's a line that he uses a couple times. And I believe that that's actually a callback to something by Neville Chamberlain shortly before World War II. Yeah.
I mean, there's been some really horrible things done throughout history for supposedly really good reasons, right?
In the name of peace.
Yep.
And that's definitely where this is trying to go. The Science Bros thing was something that was really big around this, because this was during like peak Tumblr time, okay? And so the amount of people who were creating their own little headcanons and fan fiction around the Avengers, especially after the first one, was huge. And the idea of like these two sharing an apartment and being just mad scientists was huge. So I like that they give them, even if it's just a little bit, to be the bonding mad science bros was fun.
Yeah. Now I do love this whole sequence coming up. The whole the party, but both the main party where everybody's there, and then kind of the after party with just the core group. This is, I think, one of the areas where you're glad you got someone like Joss Whedon, because he knows how to write just kind of group dynamics like that. And I mean, we get this whole little awakening thing first, but.
What do you think of this awakening? Because I imagine this would just be a very difficult thing to do in general. How would you frame this?
Yeah.
Do you think that the framing device they use for this awakening works?
I don't dislike it. I don't think it's actually that interesting. I think that, I mean, I get it. They're trying to do kind of data streams, and it just reminds me of, I think part of it is the resolution is a little bit odd in here. Like, it's not as sharp as I would have expected it to be. So I think that it's, like, we're watching this, it's all a little bit blurry, a little bit fuzzy. And there's also just a, it feels like kind of a cheap Matrix knockoff to me.
Okay, I was literally going to say the same thing with like the whole Matrix thing, even though I don't think the Matrix actually did any scenes that look like that.
No, but it feels like that. Now, I do think that this is kind of interesting more, where you got the blobs. I think that they look distinct enough, and the colors really pop. I mean, visually, the idea that, he's like literally attacking Jarvis, like with like holographic whatever. It's, this is very science fiction-y, fantasy, whatever-ness going on here. But at a certain point, you have to make it work on film. So,
yeah, the thing that I really like about that scene though is actually the voice acting. Because you have Paul Bettany and that little like worried sound. You realize that we don't hear Paul Bettany's voice again until Vision shows up. That's the last of it.
Yeah. If you had less accomplished voice actors, it would have been truly, I think, one of the weakest points of the film.
But like having the worry in Paul Bettany's voice that he's able to impart, where you're just like, oh, Jarvis is in trouble. But yeah, Don Cheadle.
Why do I even talk to you guys?
I also like about this whole thing is that they bring in these other characters. They bring in him. They bring in Anthony Mackie, and like they all exist in the same world. Of course, they're going to be there. They have I almost said Robin, Kobe Smulders here.
Yeah.
While also explaining that they weren't able to get the other actors to come back.
Yeah. Gwyneth Paltrow was like, I'm not doing a cameo in your Avengers movie.
Yeah. I mean, she did a glorified cameo in Spider-Man Homecoming,
Yeah. But this is a scene that also this is good. She has good comedic timing. Colby Smulders does.
She does.
This is the kind of scene though that when people are like, where are these other people? They're at least acknowledging that yes, they are still exist. They are doing things. I mean, right here. They have so why wasn't Falcon there with them? And it's like, no, because he's not part of the Avengers yet. That there's answers to this, but it keeps the world feeling bigger without, needing to like shoehorn them into an action sequence.
Yeah. Did you know that Anthony Mackie didn't realize how large his role was going to be in this movie?
Really?
He thought he was just coming in for that scene. The scene at the end, he didn't know that he appears at the end as an Avenger. They used a scene that they filmed for... They used a scene that they filmed for Ant-Man and then spliced him in there. They had like 4 different hero rosters that they were going through for the end of this movie, including one with a physical stand-in meant to be Carol Danvers, Captain Marvel, before deciding not to use her because they wanted to give her a better introduction.
I love Stanley's little cameo.
And they could just digitally replace her face with whoever...
Excelsior.
Excelsior.
I also love the idea.
I like the one guy in the back who's super drunk and he's just like standing there, stiff as a board.
I love the idea too that Cap like sniffs it after Thor puts it in his drink. It's like kind of he tips his head like, oh, maybe this is something actually capable of giving me a buzz.
Right? Okay. There's also another complication that happened during the filming of this movie. Can you guess what it is, Brian?
Wasn't there actually a thing here? Or no, there something else? I go ahead and tell me.
Scarlett Johansson is pregnant, very pregnant, through the entire filming of the movie. There are certain times where she's just straight up they've digitally replaced her stomach. They relied on 4 very close lookalikes for wide shots and things like that, and action sequences. Some digital face replacement, or the classic, putting her in a voluminous dress and behind a counter.
There you go. Now that you say that, I remember that, but I had totally forgotten that. What's crazy is Joss Whedon never mentioned that in the commentary. It's so weird.
Yeah?
Yeah, because she's a little more top-heavy than usual, you can tell.
Yeah.
This, though, I like this scene, too, because this is, again, another scene that fully... It helps connect it, where Cap is talking about the events of Winter Soldier in a way that makes sense in this context. They're like, yeah, I've spent some time with her, right? I've seen her flirt up close. It's little moments that do help make these films feel like they are in the same world. It's not just the same actors, because at this point, we were starting to get into that at a level that had never been seen before, obviously, and we're in the thick of it at this point in the MCU, but I like those little moments. What do you mean up close?
So, I agree, and here's my thing. This entire sequence, this party, this is what I want to see from these movies. From Avengers movies, from Justice League movies, from superhero team-up movies, and we never really get it. We get some of those really good moments, especially in like the team-up episodes of superhero TV shows, but like we don't get this kind of like they're relaxing, they're talking and chattering and having a good time. And I, because of this scene alone, I almost want to be like, they're, um, this is this is what I want from an Avengers movie. This is almost the best Avengers movie. The closest thing you come is the end game when they're developing the plan
Yeah.
and they're all like hanging out and working together. I love that. I want more of that in these type of movies, you know?
Yeah, it's it's good. Are you even lip Paul? It's
Represent.
Oh,
So
it's so good.
there's a whole bunch of people who have given different excuses about
I was gonna ask
why
you, what
Captain
do you
America
think?
couldn't.
Yeah.
Um,
Which one do you fall down on? I like to think that he's I don't know if you like this one, but part of me really likes the he's being polite.
I really like that idea also, the being polite, but at the same time, if there was a little bit more lead up to it, the idea of him having some like, you know, crisis of faith, keeping some secrets and be like not being a good leader to the team and yada 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 would be interesting. But I think the whole coming down to being polite is more fun.
It is. Well, because I know people I do love again Chris Hemsworth. He is a good comedic actor, as you know, as he was shown in Civil Wars. But the way he flips it and just you are not worthy, just it's great. But no, I've heard a lot of people talk about the whole that he still has the secret, right, that he's holding on to from Tony, and I don't.
Yeah, Tony's parents being dead
Yeah.
by the hand of the Winter Soldier.
Yeah,
For anybody.
I don't.
I don't buy it.
It doesn't work.
Too
It
convenient.
doesn't work for me either. I much more that Cap's a gentleman. Yeah, buggy suit. This is.
I love this introduction. This is a great introduction.
It's so good. Well, one again, the effects work here on this robot is fantastic. Spader's voice work, though. I mean, this is an example where you get the right voice actor, and it can do a lot of work.
Mm-hmm. Well, he was right in the middle of filming the TV show The Blacklist, which was kind of his renaissance. Okay, did you ever see The Blacklist?
I've seen episodes. I mean, it's I know about it enough to talk about it.
It goes on for too long and gets way too convoluted as a show. But he is constantly amazing in it. He delivers these monologues. He's insanely dangerous. Incredible performance throughout all 8 seasons of that show. And it's just, I genuinely think that was the reason why he got this this part. He was the only actor ever considered for Ultron. Here we have a classic Joss Whedonism.
Well,
man falls over woman, face and boobs.
So that was actually that was Mark Ruffalo that did that. According to Joss, that was all Mark Ruffalo just being cheeky with Scarlett.
It wouldn't surprise me either way, whether it was Joss Whedon liking his little pervy girl moments or Mark Ruffalo being cheeky.
No, I also did you notice throughout the right before this thing started, and actually it happens here later. You'll see Colby Smulders is she is wearing Cap's leather jacket throughout this whole sequence.
Is she?
Yeah.
That's interesting.
She'll have it here towards the end, but I always, okay, this is weird. I always feel bad when like really nice pianos get hurt in action sequences, because I'm always just like, oh, it's just like they're so hard to make. They're really nice.
I've been feeling that a little bit more lately, also, because like I've been watching this guy on YouTube who repairs pianos for a living, and it's just really interesting and kind of meditative, and it's made me like him a little bit more. Dude, like the Hawkeye throwing the shield and that little bounce around shot is so good.
Yeah, that was a really good action sequence.
Mm-hmm. So this whole thing, it's just like that one line of you want humanity to be safe, but you don't want humanity to change, is such an interesting philosophical thing, And this whole idea that his plan evolves over time from he wants there to be peace, but he sees the Avengers, very similar to the way Lex Luthor sees Superman, as a problem because they're too powerful and humanity will stagnate under their protection.
Yeah.
And so getting rid of the Avengers and letting there be some hard times for humanity to evolve makes a lot of sense. And then as he becomes more emotionally unstable, his plan increases in magnitude and gravitas until it's just him wanting to make the human race extinct.
Yeah,
And I don't know, I like that idea, but it wasn't properly communicated.
Yeah. So it's hold on really fast here. Let me see. There it is. Yeah, she's got.
Yeah, there's a jacket.
Yeah, but she had it
She's
on.
picking glass out of her toes.
Yeah, yeah. She was running around barefoot. And a little John McClane moment there. But yeah, she had it on earlier too. It's just one of those like, I wonder if that meant anything. Anyways, okay, correct me if I'm wrong. Ultron in the comics was created by Hank Pym, right?
That is correct. I was going to go into that.
Yeah.
So
could you give me a little bit of the background because I always found it interesting.
So the character of Ultron was created in 1968. He was introduced in the Avengers, like something like number 55 or number 54, and he's just been one of the longest running villains. He's this AI. He was created by Hank Pym, otherwise known at the time as Giant Man, and it's literally the exact same thing. He was meant to bring about world peace, but he gained sentience, developed a god complex, and became obsessed with fulfilling his purpose by removing humanity from the equation. He's considered one of the greatest threats. He's kind of like Brainiac, okay? They've had various different versions of him. He has this kind of aloofness, and I don't know. I think that he's had some really interesting incarnations. They've made him into a good guy in some ways. They gave him a weird girlfriend in the form of a sentient version of the X-Men's Danger Room. But yeah, he was Hank Pym's creation, not Tony Stark's.
It makes sense in this incarnation. I mean, Tony Stark is the logical, since Hank Pym is, not until the next movie. I do like this scene though, just the kind of, I don't know, the kind of humor defense mechanism that Tony's going with here, where he was, that whole sequence we were just kind of watching there where, he was kind of laughing and just like, yes, this is terrible. This is horrible, but then here he kind of pivots and gets defensive. Like his kind of arc in this little scene, it is very realistic for somebody feeling guilty, but also an egomaniac and feeling defensive, right?
Yeah. And right here, there it is, up there. That's the end game. That's where the title came from. That's where Avengers Endgame got its title.
And then this interaction.
The seeds right here of all of the stuff. Like this one scene leads into a Civil War, leads into Infinity War, leads into Endgame.
Yeah, that haunting scene at the beginning of Endgame when, Tony Stark's back and they literally recall that exact conversation right there between him and Cap. It's a powerful moment, right?
Yeah. And it's just like, he said that we do that together too. And it harkens back to Civil War when it's Captain America's choices that pull the Avengers apart.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Do you think that the MCU did themselves a disservice by not having Hank Pym be like a current character that was kind of at the same at his peak with these other characters versus what they did with him ultimately? Because he's a really key part of the history of a lot of this stuff, right? I mean, he's in a lot of ways he was like Tony Stark before Tony Stark was this idea of Tony Stark, right?
Yes, but he's also a problem character. And I think they were afraid to use him because you can't really ignore certain aspects of Hank Pym. Hank Pym has spent just as much time as a villain as he has a hero. And a lot of that came from a very famous comic in which he slaps the crap out of his wife in a domestic abuse situation. That apparently was the result of a misunderstanding between the artist and the writer. Back when the comic came out, but it left a mark on the character where he is problematic because he's an abuser. He's a wife abuser, and he ends up becoming a villain multiple times, even more so than the others. He does all kinds of stuff. So he'd be a very complex and difficult character to translate. But then they could have him as an old guy who's made all of his mistakes and now he's trying to fix them and be reformed, which is what they ended up going with. And I don't know, I like it the way that it is. Didn't need to crowd it with too many super geniuses. You've already got two.
Yeah.
Did you really need a third massive ego in the room for that?
No, you're probably right. I don't know enough about it. I like Michael Douglas's portrayal of him quite a bit. You know, we're gonna do Ant-Man next week, and I actually like that movie very much, and I enjoy his performance in a lot. But I was just curious, you know, somebody who again knows the comics better than I do, because I know he's such a pivotal role in the history of the Avengers. That
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. We have this look of Ultron. The lips on the robot are a little weird, but I like it.
Well, they managed
They
to try to
massively
make him.
changed the.
I was gonna say they made him look robotic, but still like kind of somewhat organic in a way.
So here we have the backstory of the twins, right? Because they had to change the twins massively. I genuinely don't understand what they were thinking bringing Scarlet Witch and Quicksilver into this, but they decided to.
It does seem like a
And-
lot of extra to stuff into one movie.
Yeah, because like having people to join the Avengers and starting as bad guys and turning to good guys, okay, fine, that makes sense. That is an arc that Wanda and Pietro went through in the comics. They started as part of the Brotherhood of Evil Mutants under their father Magneto, and eventually became X-Men. And Scarlet Witch in particular is an incredibly powerful and terrifying individual in the comics. She can change reality with her mind and is mentally unstable. So problems ensue. However, for this, in order to make it work with the rights issues between Fox, who owned the X-Men at the time, and her, they weren't allowed to call them mutants. They had to be enhanced. They weren't allowed to be Magneto's kids. They were just the kids of dead people. They had to change so much. And I just don't think that it was the right choice. I think they could have chosen other characters. I personally wonder if it wasn't like the idea that you could make them so popular that they'd be able to put pressure on Fox to buy X-Men faster.
Yeah. I wonder if part of it was, maybe you actually know the answer to this. I don't know. I feel like they just they wanted to give Ultron somebody to talk to. Essentially, they needed to give him somebody
narratively, yes,
interactive.
but they could have used other characters.
Yeah, because it does this movie. You could have kept this movie the same length if you hadn't had to fit them into it. You could have fleshed out more of this.
They needed an Avenger to die, but they didn't want to kill any of the core, so they needed a character that you connected to. You needed you needed to turn the current roster of Avengers into mentors, so you needed other characters to bring in, and that their role in the movie is important, and I think it's good, but I don't understand why they used those two characters. And it annoyed me. It made me sad. But at the same time, again, this is me being just shallow. I love Elizabeth Olsen, and I think that she did amazing as Scarlet Witch in everything she's appeared in, and I find her very attractive. So I'm okay with her being in anything she wants regarding that character.
Because I definitely not a fan of Multiverse of Madness and what they did with her character there. Not that she was bad in it. And then I actually think that WandaVision is both a very good show, but I actually also have some major issues with the narrative in it and the way that it plays out. But this is not the time and place to talk about that.
No, I think I really love WandaVision. I think it's great. I think that it was the best it could have been.
This apparently is a real place, by the way.
Yes, it is.
Like an actual kind of like graveyard for like these cargo ships and stuff.
They also had the whole Wakandan thing and introducing vibranium. So one of the complaints that I heard when this movie first came out was that there were too many things linking it to other like new properties coming up. Ooh, they're setting up Black Panther. Ooh, they're setting up War Machine. Ooh, they're setting up X-Men. Ooh, they're setting up... I actually really like it. I thought it was good. I thought it was interesting.
It handles it
Um,
way better than Iron Man 2 did.
yeah, exactly. I like that they introduced Wakanda early. I like that they introduced vibranium and all this stuff.
Man,
Andy Serkis is
he's
so
he's
good.
amazing. So at least again, the way that Joss Whedon, kind of explained it is that he was there on site, helping them with performance capture, and because he is the master of that. He practically reinvented the craft, with as Gollum and then into Planet of the Apes and stuff. But he was helping them with Ultron and some other stuff, and they were trying to figure this out, and essentially they're like, no, he'd be amazing, and they just it was kind of a last minute decision, but it worked out so well because he is so good, he's so memorable in this very small role.
Yeah,
And I love that
and
he gets to
that leads
play.
into
I just love that he gets to play this. Like he doesn't play it with any redeeming quality. He's just kind of he seems like a comic book character.
He's
That
scum.
makes sense. But
He's scum.
He is scum, but he is like a kind of larger than life comic book character scum.
Yeah, and they have him talking about the cuttlefish,
Yeah.
which a YouTuber that I like is terrified of anglerfish, which is what he actually was describing, not cuttlefish. It's the anglerfish
man.
he was describing.
So also the issue with Quicksilver, look behind you, dude, is we had just had. I'm trying to remember when was Days of Future Past? Was it right before this?
They actually came out around the same time. In fact, they added the character of Quicksilver in reshoots to Days of Future Past in order to kind
Protect
of
the rights.
give a bit of a middle finger to Marvel. Yeah.
But man, the sequence, that whole sequence in the lobby,
Yeah.
it's so good. They Quicksilver was a much cooler character in the way he was portrayed. And is it Evan Peters? Is that the actor's name?
Evan Peters, yeah.
Yeah.
Which both Evan Peters and Aaron Taylor Johnson appeared in the movie Kick-Ass as best friends shortly before this.
That's right. I forget about that. Oh,
Yeah.
man.
But, okay, I love that line that Ultron has as he's handed the vibranium and he quotes the Gospel of John. And he says, "Upon this rock I will build my church." There's just something so epic about Ultron's dialogue and James Spader's performance of that dialogue. It's the highlight of this movie.
This scene, I really love this. It's just
Oh yeah, just the daddy issues that of Ultron.
sorry. Oh.
That's gonna be okay.
It's gonna be
And
Oh,
I
man.
like the effect that they have of whenever Ultron gets angry, his or very emotional, his cheeks are hollow, so he looks almost more skull-like.
Yeah.
And when he's more business, he has the little circles that are more of his classic character design.
Yeah. Now this sequence is interesting because I like it in a lot of ways, but it's also one of the weaker action sequences to me. Even though it's got some moments.
A lot of the action that was in this scene was actually added. One of the studio notes that was problematic is that they wanted more violence. They wanted more action because they didn't think Joss Whedon's original version had enough. So some of the action sequences feel a little bit overly long and convoluted, and this is one of them.
I really do appreciate this. I appreciate that they poke fun at that trope, right?
Yes.
Because I mean, as a huge fan of The Incredibles, he got a monologuing. It's so good.
Right?
He has like just prepared speech, his whole plan.
Yeah. We are coming up on what, in my opinion, is one of the most interesting parts of the entire movie, which is the fear sequences.
Yeah.
Which I'm not a fan of dream sequences. I like the way this is handled. It's not just, oh, I'm having a dream. They're being affected by an outside power that's making them have these visions. Yeah. And again, if you take her true power into context, they're terrifying. it's this kind of realism added to it that's really scary.
I love this.
Oh, I love this. He's like, I'm going to take the hammer.
Never mind. Okay, one thing that does bug me, I do not like. I'm guessing you'll agree with me on this. I do not like all the freaking blue lights they have attached to Black Widow.
Oh, Black Widow? Dude, it's the same thing like the first Avengers, where Iron Man had all these weird blue LEDs in like every crevice of his armor. It's a Joss Whedon thing. I don't like it.
I love that he's like, okay, I just got smacked in the face by Cap. I'm feeling a little dazed here.
Right?
I do. Okay, so and I think part of what also makes this sequence, I mean, there's some good humor moments in this action sequence, but part of what kind of, makes it pale a little bit is what we're about to get into with the Hulkbuster, which is just, I love that fight. We'll talk about it when it actually starts, because you're right. These sequences are really good. They're really insightful to the characters.
I am mighty. So this sequence here, I don't know if it's actually this sequence or the later
In the pool?
dream sequence when he's in the pool, but Thor, his little vision has one of the only Easter eggs that was present in the Joss Whedon movies to Joss Whedon's work with Buffy the Vampire Slayer and Angel. And I find it pretty fun. There's these these weird creatures gyrating in the background. One is a wolf, one is a ram, and one is a deer, which is a reference to the law offices of Wolf, Ram, and Hart, or Wolfram and Hart. Because the wolf, the ram, and then a male stag is called a hart. And so he has a wolf, a ram, and a hart in the background of that sequence, of Thor's sequence. And I love that.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. All the LEDs on her. And the LEDs, they kind of... Anyway, sorry. I was just enjoying... we haven't really talked about Clint in this movie yet.
Yes.
And I am so happy that they found some fun things to do with him. Because, I mean, we haven't even gotten, the big reveal of his family and everything, which is just such a great part coming up. But even up to this point, he's gotten way more things to do. He has shown, his value to the team. I mean, yeah, they did use him to take the hit, in the opening sequence, whatever. But he's shown, one, he's funny. Jeremy Renner is a fantastic actor, and even in that whole sequence there, I've done the whole mind control thing before or already. Not a fan, and just the whole you better run. I just like those little moments that humanize him a little bit. I really enjoy. So I want to talk about this sequence right here, but I just wanted to quickly point out how much I enjoy Clint in this. But the little cameo here by Haley Atwell. This just insight into. I mean, we're back into Thor's now, but Cap's just unable to kind of not
to move on from war and unable to move on from his longing for Peggy and that life.
Dude,
here's
got some
Idris
contacts
Elba, which and well, it's also interesting because the thing about Heimdall is that he can see everything, right? So a blind Heimdall is terrifying.
Yeah.
But yeah, Idris Elba actually was knighted Sir Idris Elba since last time we saw him on our podcast. Good for him.
Just feel for Cap too. I think that's the other thing that makes Cap effective. I think he's one of the more relatable characters in the idea of just there you go, the cameo with the ram. You were just talking about him. Mm-hmm. But I think with Cap
and the dusting right there, like they used that as the reference for the same effect for later. Mm-hmm. In Infinity War, so much of the Infinity War and Endgame was set up in this movie. It's nuts.
But I was gonna say, I do. One of the things I like about Cap is I think a lot of people can relate to just the idea of somebody who can't move on, and somebody who's just stuck in the past. I think that those general themes are really important. The whole Black Widow. She's got like some very legitimate trauma, but I feel like they continually struggled with knowing how to do it. I mean, you've talked at length about the movie Black Widow and your problems with it. I mean, I think that this movie, just the controversial. I think very rightfully so. What a big deal it is for her. I mean, not her like as a woman dealing with not being able to have kids when that comes up later, but just the way that it's treated by the writing. Like that's the problem with it. And then just in
I
general,
actually don't think that it was the writing. I genuinely believe it was the editing. I think that the main point that they were trying to make wasn't that, oh, she considers herself a monster because she can't have children, is that she considers herself kind of like futureless, you know?
Yeah.
Like there's a piece of her that feels meaningless because that is part of human nature's meaning is to procreate, while also being a monster because of what's in her past. Because there's deleted scenes from that entire interaction between her and Banner where she's talking about some of the evil things that she's done and some of the other things. She considers herself a monster because of her past, and she considers her future diminished because of her inability to have the normal life, to have children, that ideal and stuff like that. So I think that the problem is actually in the editing less than the writing.
Well, I agree. I also think you're splitting hairs there because either way, it is the as presented in this film, and whether that's the way the words were used or the way they were shown. Either way, that's the problem because the concept is fine. It's just the way it's presented just does not work.
Yeah.
But this sequence, I mean, now this was probably the most anticipated sequence of this movie, right? Like, I mean, all the trailers would show it. This was the thing. I think a lot of people were coming to the movie to see this more than anything else.
Yeah.
This fight. And
did you notice that apparently the city here is this Johannesburg, right? Is it has the Mexico filter on?
Yeah, everything's a dusty orange brown.
Orange and brown.
Yep.
But this whole thing, the Hulkbuster comes right out of the comics. Do you know why it's called Veronica?
No.
So, do you remember the name of Bruce Banner's girlfriend?
Oh my gosh. Yes.
It's
my brain.
Betty.
It fails me. Betty. Yes. Betty Ross.
And this is Veronica.
Oh.
Ringing the bells?
Yes.
Archie.
It's Archie.
This is the other woman. This is the woman who has power over the Hulk, where Betty has power over Banner. So this is Veronica. It's an Archie joke.
Okay. I do like that quite a bit then.
Yeah, because they never explain it. It's just Veronica. They use it as a nice little code name so people aren't really sure what it is, and then they reveal, oh, this is Veronica. Because I certainly didn't understand it at the beginning. But this is a really good fight scene. It's a good action sequence. I think it goes on a little bit too long, but it has some really creative stuff to it.
Yeah, well, that's the thing.
It shows off
it's a creative
Stark's ability
fight.
to, like... Yeah.
Back.
It shows off Stark's ability to plan, like, you know, the arm swizzles around, it gets damaged, and he has replacement pieces.
Well, yeah, I mean, the fact that he planned this fight with replacement parts because he knew a fight with the Hulk would go down like this, right? Like, I mean, right? Stark is incredibly good at coming up with scenarios, right, and coming up with solutions to those scenarios. I love a fight that shows problem solving and shows shifting around. So it's not just hitting each other. There's some real, and you can tell he's going through a few scenarios here. This is so funny.
Go to sleep. Yes. Yeah, this is just a classic moment. This is genuinely like one of the best Avengers moments of him just pounding on him. Go to sleep. Yeah. And like, and then this thing where it's like trapping the arm. Like, how smart is that? You know?
Yeah, I'm gonna get you out of town.
And that's it, you know, trying to get him out of town, right? And the Hulk's not letting him. He's trying to get to safety, avoid people.
Yeah.
You know, this isn't Man of Steel, right? He's actually trying to get him out of the city.
Come on, Bruce. And I mean, I think so much of this is Robert Downey Jr.'s performance in that you know, black head space that they so famously came up with for him. It's so effective. He does so much with just his face and his voice. Yeah.
And one of the things that they also did is that one of the inspirations for this fight scene, okay, is a cat. This is, imagine that you are trying to feed your large cat a pill.
I love just the... sorry. It's just... Sorry. He sells that. He sells that so perfectly. And then the cut immediately to him being, you know, him flying out of a building, obviously just being hit. It's just, again, that's where the audience can fill in that so perfectly. Damage report. Yeah.
It's incomprehensible. But
there we go.
Yeah, the whole idea of part of this fight being, imagine that you're trying to give a large cat
A
a
bath
pill,
or a pill.
and that's like like you gotta pin it down, you gotta get its mouth open and shove it in, right? Um, this is a little convenient with like, oh, how are you gonna knock out the Hulk, right? In the comics or other movies, this wouldn't be enough, but it works fine for
Yeah,
this, and
I do think this is
it's a
where.
big set piece. It
Yeah,
had stakes, and they actually used a building that was being demolished.
yeah.
This like they had to digitally change the building to a construction site, but they used some footage of a building being
I better
demolished
say
and
that's actually where I think
worked it in
the
there.
the dust CG gave it a little away there. It just wasn't
Yeah,
perfect. But this whole, I
like
mean, this harkens right back to the first Avengers, right? With
yeah,
Hulk hitting Thor.
yeah.
Just
I never thought of it that way.
oh yeah, I mean, because right here you get that just that kind of that moment where it's like, okay, maybe I'm Plus the trope, which is just a hilarious trope of if you want if somebody's dealing with mind control, you just hit them in the head really hard, and that always
Right?
solves it.
uh Cognitive reset or whatever it's called, or percussion or cognitive percussion reset. That was a joke and
Yeah,
something.
is that what Scarlet Witch, not Scarlet Witch, Black Widow, Ted said to Clint, right?
Yes, that's the one.
I hit you really hard in the head.
Um, yeah,
This is a good sequence though here. Just this like taking the moment on each one of them in the jet. I mean, this is where again you have that we just caused some major damage, and you're feeling it immediately. This isn't just we're gonna fly off and pretend like it never happened.
no, it works. Like I like a scene that we just passed that was Chris Hemsworth. They really have Thor being like antsy and anxious and looking like defeated in a very kind of almost childish way. Like how could I have been defeated like that? And being very just so anxious about it. And I liked it.
I
Um,
again, this is just taken from Joss Whedon's commentary that Safe House was specifically brought up as the like one of the answers that Clint could give Tony that he would accept and not like ask more questions. And
so
this caught me. I mean, I didn't expect this. I love this sequence. I love this little
oh yeah,
little peek into Clint's life. And I mean, there's I mean, again, we're talking about this movie's strengths is when it's focusing on the character interactions between these people. And there's just so many great little character moments coming up here in this next 10 minutes.
I want to talk about that a lot too,
Yeah.
because there was a lot going on with this house sequence. And supposedly behind the scenes, there was a power struggle that for every bit that Joss Whedon would push back against the creative team, the producers would threaten to cut more of the house sequence. Um, and this sequence was like Joss Whedon's baby, and he wanted more of it, and there was more of it. There's a lot more of it with some deleted scenes of them spending time at Clint's house, and there was like this give and take of, you want more house, you do more of what we want for putting in Avengers stuff. He didn't like the idea of Thor's little vision quest, right? Going off to confront the Norns, and he didn't want to do it, but they're like, no, more of that, and you get more farmhouse. Less of that, we take away more farmhouse. And it was one of the behind the scenes struggles that they had.
It's just
that really stressed them out.
I love too the subtle I mean not incredibly subtle, but just the quiet ways that they are showing that Black Widow and Clint have history, that that she obviously knows these people and she knows his wife, that she's very familiar all of a sudden. There's just again, it's environmental storytelling with the interactions that I enjoy. Just
Yeah,
they don't have to put that
Linda,
stuff in, right? They don't have to do that stuff, but it all makes this world feel more real.
and Linda Cardinelli, okay?
Yeah, she's fantastic.
Such a great actress. I wish that they had her more in these movies. She got a little bit of time in the Hawkeye show, which was good. This exists because after Avengers, Jeremy Renner pretty much went to them and was like, I don't know anything that Hawkeye could really do. He couldn't really imagine a future for the character. And he said, why don't you kill me off in the sequel? And Joss Whedon instead said, hey, what if I use you for something else? And writes the entire Secret Family farmhouse sequence. And Jeremy Renner loved it. And he's going to be coming back to play Hawkeye again. And I love it. I wish that we have gotten a Hawkeye season 2, but there was a whole thing because he had been run over by a snowplow, and
he went through some things personally. Yeah, just a little bit.
But also, they offered him way less money because he was going to do less, and so he said "F you," and then they wanted him back.
Well, Marvel is famous for being cheapskates.
I mean, they spent $250 million on this movie.
Yeah, but cheapskates when it comes to people, I think.
Yeah.
That's the big thing. So I love this sequence too. Just her, man, she is great in her observations, right? Just the.
Oh, I thought you were going to say in Scooby-Doo from 2000.
But just that scene of looking down, these, the way that she calls them, these gods, that they need somebody like Clint.
Yeah. Oh, dang! The budget for this thing was supposedly as much as $450 million.
Well, Avengers did make a little bit of money, so they were pretty confident in this.
Yeah.
You and me are going to be outnumbered. I know this feeling, by the way. Your third kid is scary because you're like, all right, we got to, to quote a friend of mine, you have to switch from man-on-man to zone defense. when your kids outnumber
you're into man-on-man.
What's that?
Nothing.
Okay. Anyways, I know you're not a sports guy, but I can feel the difference. I get they have chemistry that immediately makes me believe that they're married. They just that ease that an old like a married couple that's been together for a long time has. The chemistry they have just sells that so well.
Did you ever see the Scooby-Doo movies? James Gunn's Scooby-Doo movies with Linda Cardinelli as Velma?
Is that the one with Matthew Lillard as Shaggy?
Yeah, and Freddie Prinze Jr. and Sarah Michelle Gellar?
Yeah, I have seen them. It has been a long time.
I watched a couple of retrospectives on them recently just because they popped up on my feed, and I found it funny. And as a kid, watching that at a friend of mine's house, I thought Linda Cardinelli as Velma was like the hottest chick in the world. Okay? I was like 10.
Okay, this is a teeny quibble, but it's odd to me that like one of his robots could like make the scepter work to do mind control stuff like Loki did. I don't know. I always thought that was tied to like the user being. I don't know. It's such a minor thing. It matters.
Brain,
Yeah.
You could write around it.
I guess you could. It's like the tiniest of quibbles. Like I am splitting a hair of a hair, but. I don't know. It was odd to me that they didn't have Ultron holding the scepter. Maybe that's what it is. I found it odd that Ultron wasn't holding the scepter. Well, wasn't holding the scepter.
He was holding the scepter.
No, it was one of his bot dudes.
They're all Ultron.
I know, but not the main construct, or whatever you want to call it.
The primary body, the glory body.
Mm.
But yeah, this whole thing, they were actually supposed to like talk about the relationship and everything like that, like they're doing. And essentially, he breaks up with her because they have different life goals. And she's more vicious than he is. But then the production was like, no. We want more. We want to be able to use this in future movies, which they never even did because there was such a huge backlash against it.
Yeah.
And it's just such an unfortunate circumstance. And that's not even from Joss Whedon's own accounts. That's actually like from the original script and from the deleted scenes and everything.
Yeah. And it is a shame in a way because I think you have, two actors here who absolutely can and do sell some chemistry. It's just, again, it's the way it's cut, the way it's written, just and what it ultimately was, how it was used. It just makes it feel like just a waste because it ultimately was a waste.
Because I think there was this idea that you needed to have a romance within the team. She's the only chick, because everybody who knows the comics knows that Vision and Scarlet Witch are going to end up together. So knowing that Vision's in it, knowing that Scarlet Witch is in it, that's already a pairing that people aren't going to screw around with. So, they needed to pair her with somebody, and it couldn't be Clint because he has a family. Stark wouldn't make sense. Thor wouldn't make sense because they're already taken. They already knew what they wanted to do with Captain America, so he was the only answer because he was never going to get his own movie because of the rights issues.
Yeah,
so it's the only two that they could pair. It's just stupid.
Yeah, it's antiquated, thinking that you need to have that because you didn't need to have a romance. No, having romantic attachments to these characters is important because it does humanize them. Having Cap and Peggy, having when we get to Scott and oh my gosh, what's Hank's daughter?
Hope.
And having those, having Clint with his wife. I mean, there's those relationships to humanize them, but the idea that you need, a hookup within the team between two team members is just an antiquated and stupid thought.
Do you know what I think would have been good? Would have been nice, actually. Well, nice and I think could have been interesting, I should say, if they had a background romance. Have a background romance going between Kobe Smolder's character and Rhodey.
That could have been fun.
That could have been interesting.
Yeah.
That could have been fun.
Man, Chris Evans is a specimen.
This scene is so good. It really helps establish their relationship. Yes, he is a specimen. I feel insecure just sitting here watching.
Just like they gave him an axe. He's in jeans. The only thing is that they have him in a very modern
an athletic
muscle
top that
suit.
has. Well, it's got the texture.
Yeah.
The texture that they go for in Endgame.
That log rip.
Oh, right there. The tearing of the log rip. That's not just like.
Well, they built that log. That was a practical effect.
Interesting. Yeah, they built the log. It's practical effect, but also it's thematic because one of the things that this movie deals with, not in a great way, but it was the intention, is that Captain America can't live without a war.
Yeah.
He can't live without a fight.
Don't take my pile. Sorry.
He gets mad when Stark is talking about ending the fight. Because essentially what Stark wants to do is end Captain America's meaning. And
this is a good-looking,
Captain America's struggling with it.
Good-looking scene, by the way, with the God rays and everything. Just...
Yeah. God rays, you nerd. But, okay, off to the side, he passed it, he was coming in, is a target that's been hit, and the bullseye's blown out because of how many times the bullseye's been hit. That's the same target that they use in Endgame at the beginning when you see the dusting of Barton's family.
Yeah. Oh, it's so sad.
Yeah.
It's so sad. No, it's interesting that they held off on Fury for a long time in this film. Like, they were patient.
Like that. You're not the director of me.
Every guy wants this shop, though. Like at least most of the guys that I know, they're like, I want this barn. I want to.
I don't want all the hay, but I want everything else.
Yeah, I just want a space that's just whoever did the set decoration for this place just nailed it. I mean, this is. I mean, you don't need to change a thing. You could immediately put Clark in here, right?
Yeah, this could be the Kent. This could be the Kent farm for sure.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. The end of the path I started.
Yeah. It's interesting too that Fury's got his patch back on. Again, a little bit of reset from not reset, but just showing. Now I know that a lot of the setup for this movie was also done in Age of Ultron, in Agents of Shield, right? With the idea of the helicarrier being available, that was set up, right? And then the whole beginning of this film was also set up as far as them tracking down the scepter and then bringing the Avengers in to take care of it.
That's correct. They dealt with Baron von Strucker. Strucker's little right-hand man had a recurring role. They end up using Strucker's son a little bit later, and played by the kid from Gladiator, actually. But and there's this whole thing in the second season maybe second season of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. where there's this Coulson's up to something. He has this secret project in the back. It causes internal strife because he's keeping secrets when he said that he wouldn't. And There's all this kind of like, ooh, what's going on? And there's like an internal rebellion and yada, yada, yada. And it reveals, because it's the episode after Age of Ultron, it reveals that he was working on salvaging the original Hellcarrier, which then appears in this movie. And I was kind of okay with that because I felt like the appearance of the Helicarrier at the end of this thing, it felt like a Deus Ex Machina, and I really hate that. And my little knowledge of, oh, they set it up in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. is fine, but it's still just such a out of left field.
We've also said this before, that as much as nerds, we like extra material, the novelization, the comic tie-in, the whatever. It can be good, but ultimately those don't get to count, because if you can't make a movie for people who are supposed to go see this other thing that nobody's ever heard of to fill in, and it wouldn't have been hard to set up a little bit of you could have just had a line here. You literally have Nick Fury talking to him. You could have at least dropped a hint that, hey, I'm working on some backup for you guys. I'm working on kind of a contingency, something here. It would have been so easy to work that into this conversation.
Yeah. That would be. But at the same time, I mean, the rebellion in the show is led by Edward James Olmos. That's worth watching. No.
This I was gonna say too. I enjoy that this sequence is like gives them time to sit around to talk. Having Clint, with the darts was fun. I mean, they're letting all that kind of just again giving characters a environment that's not like a science tech room to have a conversation was good. I liked how at ease Nick Fury was in the scene. I just that
also they have Nick Fury eating toast in the exact same way that he said he can only eat toast in Captain Marvel.
Okay. Nice.
He has a whole thing about toast in Captain Marvel, and it's called back to this scene, him eating toast.
That's funny.
Sorry.
Oh no, it's good. I like all this. I also I enjoyed Thor going and finding. It makes sense to find Selvig. I mean, if they're not going to have Jane in it, which makes sense to not. I think wasn't Natalie Portman.
Natalie Portman was on the outs of the studio.
She did not want to do this, right?
Nope.
It wasn't until they said we'll give you a hammer before before she came back.
Well, she wanted to come back for Endgame, and she just allowed them to use footage, and because she really liked what they did with Infinity War and Endgame.
Yeah, he did just there is that moment there where Nick Fury did say as he was leaving something dramatic. I hope he did kind of hint there that he was working on something, but it was very, very minor.
Yeah.
Now, I mean, did you think there was a distinct possibility they were going to kill Clint?
I thought that they were going to. I thought that they were setting up pathos. So, this scene right here, this is another one that's a casualty of editing. Because there's this whole other scene. You can go and look up the deleted scenes to it. Where Thor takes his magic bath, and instead of just getting a vision, he actually ends up in conversation with the Norn, who are the three sisters of fate. Very similar to the Fates from Greek mythology. If anybody's ever played God of War Ragnarok, they would probably remember the Norn. They play a part. And it's a really interesting sequence, and people should look at it. Also, this blonde. You see the blonde standing next to Tony Stark here, Brian?
I recognize her, but is...
You shouldn't really recognize her. She's been in a couple of small things, but she was at the end of Rogue One. And she was the physical stand-in for Princess Leia.
Oh, really?
Uh-huh. She apparently has an incredibly similar facial shape to Carrie Fisher.
Okay. Okay.
But yeah, here we have the first major Infinity War tease.
I mean, because we've had Guardians
from
already.
Guardians. It's the thing from Thor 2. It's the Tesseract. And you're just like, oh, dang, what's going on?
And the way they, kind of lined up there, like Knuckles, right? Mm-hmm. If they're going to be in the... But I mean, because Guardians has already done some of the narrative lifting on this stuff.
Mm-hmm. It has. And so has Thor Dark World. But There's the fist. However, the Mind Stone, being the final stone that's gathered in Infinity War, goes in the center of the gauntlet, which is actually a callback to a line that comes here later, where Thor points at the Mind Stone and he says, and that the center of all of it is that stone, because it's the center stone of the Infinity Gauntlet.
Does this seem like a pretty fast turn for these guys? I mean,
their turn is a little bit longer in the upcoming action sequence, so I don't necessarily believe so. I like the idea of them becoming disillusioned with him because she's able to see his true intent. That's it works for me. In a movie this crowded, I don't disbelieve it. I don't hate it.
Yeah. I mean, it's
Settle.
yeah.
God
throws a stone at it. It's a good line.
And another reference to the Infinity Stones.
Nice
yeah,
little.
It
sorry, I'm like watching. I just watched this, and I'm like catching myself watching
well,
it.
it's
so
a complex scene because there's
Yeah.
so much going on here, and it all works together with what we've already established about these characters: her ability to manipulate minds, his growing instability, where it's no longer about saving humanity, but it's about making them evolve, and now he's going to do all that stuff, and like, there's all these problems, right?
Yeah.
And they're able to. She's able to clear the mind. He's transferring his consciousness into this new body. They're betraying him. There's a lot going on.
There is a lot.
And I like it.
The whole transfer thing. I mean, it's a very used trope.
Yeah.
Right. So by the way, this is a real building apparently in
Yes, it is.
in Korea, which is cool because it's definitely got a cool
South Korea.
Yeah, but the idea of okay, so you're transferring, so it must be a copy paste, not a cut paste type situation because he's not losing anything, as he's transferring, right?
Yeah. He's uploading his consciousness, kind of like the way that you upload a document to the cloud.
Yes, you don't lose it.
You're not losing the original.
Not losing the original. it's always
That
funny.
would if there was an interruption, you would have data corruption. When you're transferring data like that, you can't just transfer the data from one to the other. You have to duplicate and move it because if something happens during the transfer, you're going to corrupt both sides of the data.
Yeah.
And it's a very irresponsible way to transfer data.
Yeah, I do think that having Clint as the pilot is a really smart place to put him in this fight.
Yeah.
It gives him, he's kind of Overwatch again, right? Just like he was in the first Avengers movie. But it puts him in a position of, he's got some real kind of power and influence. And then later, I think having him be the one who has to essentially let Natasha go to not to try to help her really was just a smart move narratively. It gives him like purpose in this fight when there's what's he gonna do with a bow and arrow in this scenario?
Yeah, there's a couple of really good things in here. This is another one of those action sequences that they padded out. It has a moment that a lot of people like to point at as proving that Captain America is a moron, which is when he tries to choke a robot.
Well, see, I thought it was he's trying to like pop his head off or something. I don't know.
He was. It's one of those things that people like to just point out. He is very clearly trying to like tear the thing's head off.
Yes.
There's another really interesting piece of trivia, I should say.
The blue on her just bugs me. Sorry.
Yeah.
It's distracting.
This scene right here. She gets onto the bike and it drops, and it's like her big hero moment, right? This was in the trailers and stuff.
Oh, yeah.
It's cool. The CEO of Disney, I want to say Ike Perlmutter. Yeah, Ike Perlmutter. He didn't think that female superheroes would sell anything. And he stood by that all the time. It wasn't until Bob Iger took back over that they greenlit everything. He was just an incredibly business sexist man. Or sexist in a business way. I don't know his personal views on women, but I doubt it's any better. But he had so little faith that people would give a crap about any of this scene that the toys for this movie don't include this, but do include the same scene redone with the other male heroes.
It's just ridiculous.
Like, isn't that weird?
It is. It really is.
Like, it's so bizarre. Like, why would Iron Man need a motorbike, right?
No, it wouldn't at all.
Yeah, they have some.
I am a big fan of the male heroes, but it's so ridiculous. And Black Widow is.
She's earned her place.
Yeah,
like,
she absolutely
she's a good
has.
character. She's not just there to be the token female. She actually has an interesting role, and it fits really well.
Yeah, she has a role, and she's well used for the most part. I do this Quinjet is cool, by the way. I love the
yeah, right.
It's very sleek. I do question that the rounds from that cannon that it has didn't really do anything to Ultron. A little bit of
that was at least a 20mm cannon. That should have done something.
Yeah, because he's not made of vibranium yet. He's just tough metal at this point, right?
Yeah.
This version of him.
It was very clearly kind of like they were trying to be a Warthog, like an A-10.
Yeah.
There's a little bit of that design there.
I also really enjoy the just the design of the Quinjet because it makes sense from a just if you were going to design a bird like that, the fact the windows come down that you can see even underneath, you have kind of just that very high visibility.
It's not my favorite design of the Quinjet actually, because I really liked the chunkier Avengers design that looked kind of like a pelican from Halo, where this is just a little bit. It's too sleek. It's a little bit too much like the Milano from Guardians for me.
Okay.
I don't hate it. I liked the chunkier, more militaristic design from Avengers and Winter Soldier. But Stark would also design something that's kind of slick, wouldn't he?
He would, and I'm just thinking it looks fast, and I like the high visibility cockpit that it goes all the way down, and even
like I really like
underneath.
That, yeah.
It almost has a little like if you look at like a Huey or like a Black Hawk that like you can see down also because you would need to be able to see down if you were looking for high visibility. I do think that the fight between Cap and Ultron definitely it just goes on a little too long.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, like this moment of having them join, like they understand that he needs to be stopped, and it gives them a moment for them to see like what Captain America's made of, I think is good. Even if you can tell that this is kind of a reshoot moment, the special effects are a little bit rushed and a little rough. Yeah. And like, oh, they just happen to have this end of the line right now? Like, yeah. The whole thing is so rushed. And you could tell that that was last minute addition.
The catch is cool.
I weirdly like the flying rail car.
Yeah.
I dig it.
Well, the extra
cargo container.
Yeah, the extra thruster out of their face was kind of fun. I don't know. I did feel the getting Nat right there was a little bit convenient, but also the idea that they would have prioritized getting that coffin back way over getting Nat. Like it just retrieving Vision would have been such a huge priority versus capturing Black Widow, which there's no reason why Ultron would have prioritized that or considered that to be something.
They do have a line a little bit later about why he did it. Yeah. He wanted it as a distraction for the Avengers, mixed with he also just wanted someone to talk to now that he didn't have the twins anymore.
Yeah, but he sacrificed the freaking Mind Stone and his vibranium body.
One little point that we glossed over earlier was that they had this great line when he was being briefed on the twins here about like, oh, what type of person would let a German scientist experiment on them for their country? And so I think that it was a really good match having him be the first one to confront them because he has the most sympathy for them, you know?
Oh yeah. Well, and it's that scene in Avengers Tower is great because when he talks about that they're at war, we may not be, but they are. And you can't make the mistake of putting somebody else in your mindset.
Yeah.
I love that, by the way. This is a tiny thing. I like that Tony's got like his phone in his back pocket. It's not really his phone, right? It's one of the, every translucent, piece of tech.
His special Stark phone.
His little Stark phone, but it's in his back pocket, just like a smartphone.
Yeah.
And here, oh my gosh. So this is, man, and I think Robert Downey Jr. plays this so well. Just the idea that after everything, that he actually is like wants to do this, like that he still hasn't learned his lesson.
Right? But at the same time, like
it fits.
No,
I'm not saying it's not in character.
It fits, but it's not good. Like I love the whole thing with Bandit. They're like, I'm in a loop. I'm stuck in a loop.
Yep.
Yeah.
And I mean, Mark Ruffalo's acting off him is just great here because there is just a little bit of that. Are you nuts? Like, I want to help you put Jarvis in this thing.
Seeing his enemies like ace in the hole as a weapon for them to use is very on brand for Tony Stark.
Oh, yeah.
So yeah, it does fit. It does work.
I'm not saying this is
from
a
the
bad...
outside. You can see its madness.
Yeah. Oh no, and like I said, I think this is a good piece of writing. I'm not criticizing it. It's just, but it is one of those you just want to be like, are you serious right now? I'm in a loop. Yeah, okay. It's exactly where it all went wrong. Yeah, you're right. It's great. It's what everybody's gonna say. They're already saying it. It literally says we're mad scientists.
Because just like, this is the type of plan that if you executed it right, it would work, and it does.
Yeah. Well, it's. I mean, what is the? I think Cade in Destiny says it. Everybody loves a crazy plan when it works.
Right.
It's true though, right?
Honestly, there's something about this movie that makes me think that we needed Nathan Fillion in this movie. I know he wouldn't have worked. There's already too many characters. Let's just think about the feel of this. Maybe it's just the Joss Whedon-ness of it.
Well, Nathan Fillion's voice works with Joss Whedon's writing so well. Interesting too. So we had that kind of almost like a silo. We panned up through there where they showed all the kind of construction tables where he's building his army.
Mm-hmm.
It's just interesting. It made me immediately think of Civil War. The silo that the kind of final fight happens in as they're going up the fighting up the silo. Bucky and Cap and Iron Man. I want to start talking about this a little ahead of time here, just because it does bother me immensely. We're just gonna fight a bunch of copy and paste CG enemies at the end, and there's a lot of really good things. Okay, Ultron's like, I'm better now. You got a very dramatic way of saying it. He's got the orange red underglow now. He went to the Fast and the Furious shop and got his undercarriage lighting kit. Anyway, sorry, but just the first Avengers did it. Right? This Avengers did it. There's the the trope of locking somebody in a room with tech. I don't get that. You even get to Infinity War and you get the same thing of just like we got a bunch of copy paste, fodder for the Avengers to tear apart. Endgame, yeah. It's just, and I get that writing an interesting fight is really hard, and that you want just numbers on screen because it's impressive, but this movie, I don't know, it seems worse somehow. Am I just crazy?
Maybe. I no, you're not, because the thing is, they're all the same enemy. There's
no variation.
Even in the first Avengers even in the first Avengers movie, you had like the shark things, and you had the melee ones, and you had the shooters, and you had the flyers. And in this one, it's all just the same enemy, and yeah, it's just off. I love just the bullet, 9mm. Whee! Didn't see that coming.
I love Clint. He's just great. Okay, so this is maybe I'm just an idiot who should not, struggle with this at all.
Mm-hmm.
Was Thor trying to destroy it, or was Thor aware that they actually needed to do this? Like, because he had the vision that they needed Vision.
Yes, he was bringing Vision to life. This is a Frankenstein reference. He is bringing the monster to life with lightning. Like, literally, it's a Frankenstein reference to the original.
This always confused me. I feel like it just wasn't clearly... I don't know. it's just that is a good shot. That was a well staged shot of Vision coming out of the coffin.
Yeah, very Terminator.
Oh yeah, very much.
And her with the cleavage, looking at it up, and him going, "Woo!" And you're gonna have a real good time there, Scarlett.
She's a very beautiful one. Now the I love how it just stops here. It's just and so Paul Bettany did do a decent amount of physical makeup and prosthetic work here, right?
Oh yeah, a lot of it actually. He was Vision as much as possible, and he because of how cameras work, the shade that he isn't entirely the shade that was in the makeup, so he looked a lot stupider. Set.
I've seen, I mean, that's a thing for film, right? Quite often, it does not look nearly as good in real life. I remember being shocked when I saw the Star Trek: The Experience in Vegas, many decades ago at this point, and thinking, oh my gosh, the uniforms look horrible in real life. It looks so good on screen. That's my only personal reference to how that works.
Well, that has to do with a lot with the resolution, but just the way that camera and lighting, cameras absorb light. Things will just look so different. Yeah,
but I mean, I know for those the red of the motion picture era uniforms, I remember thinking okay, wow, yeah, it looks like a much better maroon on camera. Mm-hmm. Yeah, the way the color works there. I like the cape, just the he's
little glance over like he's wearing a cape.
Yeah, he's just all right, this is what we're supposed to do. This is because I do think that Vision, other than the relationship with Scarlett Johansson, other than the relationship with Scarlet Witch, I feel like they didn't really know what to do with him after this, as far as his power level, because he doesn't have a real moment to shine ever again in my mind when it comes to a fight after this movie.
Because he gets heavily nerfed in Infinity War. He has some really cool moments in Civil War, but he's also holding back.
Yeah, he's holding back there.
But in WandaVision, okay?
Yeah.
The Vision versus Vision fight is one of the best fights in Marvel, especially ending with the Ship of Theseus debate, which is just so on brand for Vision.
Yeah.
And they are currently in production of the Vision Quest TV show.
And I'm looking forward to that.
I am too.
But I just remember, I'm using air quotes on a podcast again, sorry, the specs on Vision, and then what he does or doesn't do in Infinity War and Endgame was just very, well, he's not in Endgame, I guess, but it was just to immediately have him be, stabbed, so he's weak for the entire rest of the movie. He just, again, it's a character that I feel like they just didn't know what to do with all of a sudden. And I'm glad that they brought him back in WandaVision, and he is well used as an emotional pairing with it. I actually really like the relationship with Scarlet Witch because it's not just about romance; it really is about the hammer moment. It's just great.
Yeah, it's perfect. Also, I do just want to call out the design of Vision. Is possibly it's up there with Captain America for me in this movie, with just the best adaptation of a character from the comics to the movie. Visually
good gearing up scene. Always appreciate that.
Adidas and Under Armour product placement.
Well, this movie had some intense product placements for sure. Got Friday coming in. Nice.
Yeah. Great voice for Friday. It's such a cool sounding thing. Throne or something, color red, and looking at the pictures.
I'm glad that he put some sleeves on. You don't want your arms just hanging out there. You are still a regular dude.
Do you think Vision has some issues with with Tony Stark?
Probably. You feel like there would be some. That's a good group shot. Issues. That shot of just them all sitting on the Quinjet. The interior of the Quinjet, I think, is really cool looking.
Yeah.
This is funny. Just like
I'm just like, whatever.
the guy playing solitaire is just great. Just
like, how do you get their attention?
Yeah.
Kalashnikov.
Get off your asses. Oh.
And like the mind control, I love her coat.
Yeah.
It's very kind of Scarlet Witch redesign, Ultimate X-Men. Not that I like much about Ultimate X-Men because it makes the relationship between the two of them really weird. But it was a cool design anyway.
Yeah.
The whole like brutalist architecture though, kind of Soviet era, it makes for an ugly city.
Yeah.
Which does kind of make it a little bit more visually interesting for a fight like this.
Well, it ends up being just a lot of stone.
Yeah. It's like cobblestones and stuff. I like cobblestones.
I mean, it definitely gives you kind of that Eastern European vibe for sure. But and it's definitely not not uninteresting, but they didn't do a whole lot with Black Widow being held captive. Like they had one interaction there, and then here they go. They they show up, they get her out, and then it's like, all right, and she's back in the fight.
Yeah.
Like it ultimately was kind of a nothing burger of a plot point.
Mm-hmm. I ran into a friend of mine the other day, and he actually went on an entire tirade about how much he hates the phrase "nothing burger."
All right.
He just reminded me of it.
I mean, I don't have an overly. I've always thought it's just a fun phrase to just versus saying it went nowhere. It's a nothing burger.
Yeah.
It could be nothing pizza.
Burger.
You want to call it a nothing shake? You can fill in whatever you want, I guess. I wonder who started that. Now I'm wondering.
Right? It's kind of a weird one.
It is odd.
I think the church.
I think the idea of if you have nothing between the buns, it'd be very disappointing.
Yeah.
Like if somebody gave you a hamburger bun and you bit into it, expecting beef, and there was nothing, that'd be really disappointing.
I love this line. Have you been juicing, little vibrating? Because his design, especially the lips, it makes him look a little puffy.
Yeah.
The roundness,
Well, and the kind of the fins on on his cheeks are a little more, just a little bit sharper now all of a sudden. But yeah, his chest piece definitely he bulked a little bit. Yeah.
Mm.
What would it take to machine vibranium into just a long shaft like that?
No idea.
That's
like apparently robots is the answer. The answer is robots.
So yeah, here we go. We have a lot of now. Don't get me wrong. There are some great moments in this fight, like some fantastic moments. But it's just it is boring.
Yeah. Like as a whole, it's not an interesting fight, but it happens to have some really interesting moments to it. Like this is really good. I just ends up getting paralleled in WandaVision between New Vision and Old Vision, or Dream Vision and Real Vision, I should say.
Yeah. Interesting. The whole kind of mental fight. He pulled his arm off.
Well, they had created a character who was a little bit too powerful and like, oh, he's throughout the whole internet, and the internet is just freaking everywhere, right? And so if he's in that network and a whole bunch of private networks, then like, they need to get him out somehow. How are they going to do that? So they're just going to have Vision's little mental powers do it. So the internet has now been purged of Ultron.
But that the effort of doing that somehow like knocked Vision out.
Yeah,
like it took so much, All right.
Like it was a weird vision, like Jesus pose, genuinely.
Yeah, it was, and I don't know. It was just again, it doesn't make a ton of sense as to why that would like paralyze him temporarily. I mean, it's just there's a couple of just conveniences in how this goes down. Okay.
Yes, there are.
Yeah,
I was yawning.
Yeah. It is interesting to put this thing in the sky. Okay, so I do like the idea of he's obsessed with extinction, talks about the dinosaurs, these
God
kind of
throws a stone at it.
yeah. So there is something about create your own meteor essentially. Although, okay, correct me if I'm wrong, but the physics of this
Wrong.
wouldn't actually work, right? Because unless you got out of the gravity well and were able to accelerate way past terminal velocity, doesn't matter how big this thing, and correct me if I'm wrong on the physics point of view, but as long as this thing is in the atmosphere, unless it's being pushed down by some source of propulsion, it would hit terminal velocity, and it wouldn't speed up anything past that. And it would definitely cause some damage, but it wouldn't be an extinction level. I mean, you would have to get it way, way higher than just low orbit.
I will correct you because you're wrong.
Okay.
You're not wrong on the principles of physics, but it does specifically show that he adds a counterforce.
Okay,
Now,
I must have missed that.
The ability to lift the city using only those thrusters, that's totally fake. The ability for them to breathe, because they have the moment, air's getting pretty thin, they should be like shivering and cold, and things should be freezing when they're up there. They don't even add puffs to their mouths for breath, which is just something that always annoyed me, right? Also, just that whole scene made me angry. The whole I adore you, like, shut up. Like, who wrote that crap?
Also, I wanted to know, what was she holding on to? That she was like riding him climbing up there? Like, what was she?
Those traps. Damn traps, Brian.
Oh man.
But yeah,
okay.
The special effects are so inconsistent throughout this battle.
So keeping the rock together. I'm looking at the subcredits here, right on the impact. Mm-hmm. Once it gets high enough, global extinction.
Yeah, that's just like a simplification, but it does actively show when the moment comes that the thrusters flip around and begin accelerating it downward.
Okay.
Now, here's the thing with like them in the bathtub. He redoes this thing in Justice League. Like almost this exact same thing in his version of Justice League, Joss Whedon. The 2007 Joss Whedon's Justice League, and not the Snyder Cut, where Superman is like Superman and the Flash are like having a competition almost of rescuing people from an Eastern European town where the bad guys have built their apocalyptic base. And he like repeats that exact same scene larger.
You get killed, walk it off.
That's a great line.
That's a great line.
Yeah.
I always think of when I think of that line, it always reminds me of Mass Effect. Just the idea of they killed you once and all it did was piss you off.
Okay, so this is something that feels like it comes out of a disaster movie. Suddenly we randomly start following a random mother and son. And I remember seeing this with a friend of mine who just labeled her, "What the hell is up with Tits McGee?" Pardon my language. Because all she is just a bouncy pair of boobs. The kid has a little bit of plot relevance, but we randomly keep cutting back to Miss Bouncy. And it's weird. It's like they want us, here is this character who you now recognize so that when the moment comes, it'll be important. Clint.
This is a very Joss Whedon, but it also it works because one, it's there's something about pointing out the obvious. Clint being the one who delivers this works, but also the fact that at the end of it he does get to kind of kick her in the butt in a way that she needs. But also he's kind of being a dad here, right? Like this is kind of his dad moment. As much as it's a good laugh, it's also just a great scene.
I also love his coat. It's a good coat.
It's a nice.
Yeah. But he does, it is an effective weapon, and he's got lots of arrows.
Well, the thing is, I mean, a bow and arrow would be very versatile. I actually like in the Hawkeye TV show where he kind of talks about just that, just the versatility. I love the bumper.
Mm-hmm.
It just
That's one of those scenes that people like to use to like, here's Captain America's strength. He's struggling to pull up this car. And then like you have Spider-Man who's able to stop a car being thrown at him, and just to show just how strong Spider-Man is in comparison to pretty much all of the other Avengers except
Yeah.
for Thor and Hulk. But this guy right there, okay, that's the bot from the end. He didn't destroy that bot. He just threw him off the edge, right?
Okay.
So when Vision has his conversation with the final Ultron bot, that's the Ultron bot.
Okay. It's cool to know. And we get a nice little Thor and Cap team up again there.
Mm-hmm. A little weird little like POV. Could you imagine if fixed wing shots were more common at this time, and having like a fixed wing shot of the shield like spinning?
That'd be cool.
Yeah, right?
Yeah.
I feel like it might get me sick.
I love the little ow there.
Yeah.
Yes.
You know,
He's still just a guy.
This was a trailer shot. You know, because there was the whole you step out that door, you're an Avenger, and that's something that goes on later. She was talking about, she gave this interview talking about how difficult filming this was, because everybody seemed to have a prop. Everybody seemed to have a thing that they're doing. And she's just making hand gestures.
I'm waving my hands around.
Yeah. And it's just like, it felt so goofy to her.
I love this.
Man.
Nobody would know.
Nobody would know. Nobody. Because just, it's the continuation, you know, as he like drops off. Last time an Ultron is sitting on him.
Quick little bastard. Again, Jeremy Renner. Oh man, I feel like in a way he does get to be our Nathan Fillion. He gets those lines right.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he's just so good. And glad that they were able to yell "Hold your fire."
Yeah.
This is a very Joss Whedon thing. Like, I swear that I've seen this exact same thing in several episodes of Angel, where somebody ends up accidentally hitting Angel, and David Boreanaz turns around, looks at the wound, and like shrugs. I'm like, what the heck? Like, it's a Whedon thing through and through.
The anti-gravs are rigged to flip. There you go. Okay.
There it is. Okay, I know I wasn't crazy. It'll crack. But yeah, this is the cool about some of the Iron Man flyby scenes, and it feels almost like a Star Wars scene with like a fighter like flying past something important and looking at it. I don't know. I like it.
Yeah, I do like that Tony's kind of figuring this out. Yeah, he's not fighting because he does have to figure this out. Yeah, just the idea that they have to kind of keep everybody busy while he's problem solving. It does. Yeah. It does give this fight some structure, at least. As much as I still think, the bots are very just copy and paste, but there is there is a structure to the fight that you can follow. You understand like what the stakes are. You understand like it's framed very well narratively, even if the fight itself can be boring at times. Yeah,
this whole very kind of fatalism thing, I think works pretty good. Also, I like this. And then, of course, they should be. They couldn't have added some like breath to them talking.
Yeah,
that's a good scene. Purely CG, but a good scene.
Yeah, the helicarrier looks good. This helicarrier also, it does just again the more with the actual turbines, and there you go.
Yep.
There you go. But
yeah, it felt like a little bit of a Deus Ex Machina at the time.
She's dusty, but she'll do.
Kiss your mother with that mouth.
He also Furious got his Avengers coat and under he found his old costume.
We have this guy back from Winter Soldier. He was the tech who refused the order from Rumlow. Nice little bit of continuity there.
Yeah. The lifeboats.
These are weird to me. Like, they just happen to have these random transports, and they're never seen again. I mean, the helicarrier's never seen again. But it's just... also, that's the thing that bugs me. Why don't we get more helicarriers? Like,
why do they never...
Like, why don't we see any more helicarriers again after Age of Ultron? Like, the Russo brothers just like, I don't know what to do with one. Um, whatever. It just annoys me. I like alligators. I want more
This is it's a good place to put Rhodey back in. It makes sense.
It makes sense to put Rudy back in. Fun little detail in Captain America: Civil War is that Rhodey's suit, the Iron Man, the War Machine suit, suddenly has a whole bunch of Ultron heads stenciled on his suit for each one that you see him kill on screen.
Nice.
Yeah. So there's some cool stuff there. And there's also a tank referencing his tank story from before.
I need to look for that because I never noticed that, honestly. So now I got to look for that when we get to Civil War.
Yeah. And I think they even get the Galaga guy back, who was playing Galaga in the first one.
I know that it's full of people.
But I do like this that they give them a little bit of their cool moment. You know, they're in the fight, even if it. I feel like this is a reshoot, but
It feels like it could be.
I like that it gives them a second. You know.
I do feel like the deck that they're on would be pressurized, right? So breaking that window would kind of suck all of a sudden.
Yeah, that would suck. This is funny because I thought this was so stupid the first time, and I'm like, okay, you're going a little far with it. And then they followed up with that joke. That's a good joke.
He hits him with that
And just a
hammer.
great moment.
Yeah,
Good
it is
pose.
good. It's terribly well balanced. The moment to explain the physics of the hammer. That's good.
Yeah, somehow.
I mean, yeah. We skipped over it earlier, but I do love the whole, the elevator's not worthy, right? Yeah.
Well, that's not yet. That comes later.
Is that? Oh, that's
yeah, that's
okay. I was all right.
But
ahead of myself.
So I saw this movie a couple times in theaters, and one of the times I saw it, it was in 3D. It looked awful in 3D.
This is when everybody was doing the
darken
post conversion, right?
Mm-hmm. They had to darken it, and it looked really bad. But yeah. Oh, dude, the stuntman who does the Captain America twist in real life, it's not a digital effect. He actually does the twist and slam with the
Not
the
all
thing.
of us can fly.
Is great.
Yeah.
Like, I remember watching the behind the scenes, and they do this stuff.
So
But yeah,
of
this
course,
section is the new Avengers theme that I was
Okay.
talking about from Danny Elfman. That's just incredible.
another trailer
So, listen for it.
moment here. You had to ask.
Yeah, had to ask. Yeah, just there's a bunch of Ultron bots.
Although we do have this scene, which is kind of they have the opening Avengers kind of panel, but this shot coming up is a fantastic shot. I do have to
It's
do
good.
have to say.
It's a little busy, but it's still good.
But it gives them all some. It's the kind of thing where just if you're going to do that, if you're going to say, all right, we want one glory shot, I think that it's pretty good.
Yeah, but then you have this flurry. It's a little chaotic, and then once it slows down, the music kicks in, and that's the musical theme that I'm talking about that Danny Elfman did that I think is better than Alan Silvestri's.
Okay. When we finish this, I'll have to listen to just the music.
Yeah, but kicks in right here, right? And it's got that little bit of Danny Elfman-ness to it, but I love that they give everybody their cool moment. It works with Vision's just in there, Quicksilver's all through it.
Yeah.
Weird Dutch angles all of a sudden in several of the shots, though. Not bad, but strange.
I think that's where you are
choices.
trying to make it look interesting when you just have a bunch of CGI robots that Hulk's just eating him.
Biting crap. And somehow Black Widow's alive.
I mean,
sorry, Widow, but... Oh, I love this, though. The multi-beam thing.
yeah,
This
where
is
they all...
great. I love this shot. Because you have the lightning, you have the dual pulse, and then you have the Mind Stone itself. I like laser shots, okay? I think they're cool. I like the look of him melting, and there's kind of that, look of fear, even though it's just the metal being stripped away. It looks like he's afraid.
the benefit of hindsight. Oh, gosh. They run away. I do like that they do acknowledge
robots that are running away. It's not them being afraid, but they make the joke of them being afraid, and I like that there's actually a narrative reason why they're running away. They're trying to escape
Well, and I like that they do acknowledge the idea that, if we let a single one of these things out, he's gonna. Okay, what?
Yeah, Rhodey wouldn't know anything about Vision, right?
Yeah, but that they do. Yeah, they I think lesser films would have kind of not bothered with the reality that they can't miss any.
Mm.
I also like this because she's not, and you can actually see the one robot that was kind of coming up there a little bit in the wide shot a second ago. He was kind of crawling up. He had just a little bit of life left in him, and she doesn't notice him.
Yeah.
But the idea that she is not experienced enough that for her to make the mistake that kind of comes up here is very plausible.
Yeah. They do decently well at being able to set up the things that they need. Because, like I said, a lesser film would have it where people just do things, right? They have Ultron. He's in his vibranium body. He gets pummeled in that beam shot. And so now he can't fly. So he's stealing the Quinjet, which then sets up the ability for the Hulk to get in there, which also makes a really fun gag, but also gives the Hulk the proper ending. And it flows really well in those little areas. And I do appreciate that because it's really hard to write.
Yeah. Well,
her zipper got a lot lower between scenes, by the way.
It did. But you know what? She's an attractive woman, so.
Is that for Hulk's sake? Is that
Maybe.
What's going on there?
Maybe. Like Clint, he lost his overcoat.
Yeah, they just had him take it off a second ago.
Yeah, I mean, he didn't lose it. I wasn't implying that. Just
the freaking veins he's got in his arms. Okay, he is the most realistic looking physique in this movie.
Yeah, it looks
like something that's achievable.
Yeah, you could actually spend some time in the gym and look like him. But it makes sense because he's supposed to be more about being fast.
Yeah, he's a deck space build for my D&D homies out there.
Man, I do think too. I think this one of my favorite. We were talking a little earlier at the very very beginning about the scene with their hands, and I do think that Hulk's texture in this movie is one of the best. As far as my personal, I like it, like the way it looks. The shade of green they give him, they kind of keep a little more of Mark Ruffalo's a naturally pretty hairy guy. They leave a little bit. I don't know.
They work in a lot of subsurface scattering, in the lighting, which is one of the things that Avatar helped push. Is it's just like when light hits skin, it actually goes through a couple layers of skin and then scatters, so that we're in our own ways. We never really realized this. We're glowing. And once computer animation was able to figure that out and add subsurface scattering, it brought a whole new level of life-likeness to CGI.
It's a good scene with her.
It is. It also just shows how insanely powerful she is. And given that she got her power from an Infinity Stone, it creates that disintegration thing again, which is just terrifying.
Yeah.
But this also solved... I genuinely believe that they wanted to kill somebody off, and I think that one of the reasons they picked him is because of how good they were able to do Quicksilver in Days of Future Past.
Yeah. Yeah, I like when he lands. They show that he does damage to the flight deck because yes, he would. Okay, I hate that she's got the cheapest holsters on that LED suit.
You don't like what?
Oh, sorry. She has these cheap Kydex Blackhawk holsters on her very LED infused suit. Anyways, sorry.
For God's sake!
Again, having a voice actor as good as James Spader just helps so much. Mm-hmm. But there you go. You're reunited.
It reminds me kind of Ashley Johnson's role in the first Avengers movie, as he just wants this civilian blonde that has some sort of minor emotional purpose.
Interesting little parallel shot there.
Yeah. Like he was treating them kind of like kids, he was coaching them. So and he died to save him. So that'd be a big thing. And I was always sad that they didn't have a proper moment to follow up on that. Um, uh, a bit later, like they have a little bit of kind of a rumination on it in Civil War, but not much. But like in the Hawkeye show or something, making Pietro's death a little bit more intense. I know, or like long lasting, meaningful.
Yeah.
Mm.
It was I thought that was a creative, just like moment there of just pulling his heart literally out, just kind of it was effective. She's a great actress. She was able to sell that really well.
And she failed in her mission.
She did.
Like you pointed out, that robot was crawling up, because for those of you who aren't watching, that robot crawled up, activated the thrusters to create the little meteor and it was previously seen. It was just good. I love stuff like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, the big shaft, and they're on both sides. This is a pretty cool. I love this. I love this shot. Vision flying through the debris, and it's the first moment that hints at that like romance between the two of them. He's saving the damsel in distress, and it's just a beautiful shot. I like it a lot.
Yeah,
but like this is the moment where essentially this debris, like, that's what kills Baron Zemo's family. That's what kills the kid in the beginning. That leads to the beginning of Civil War.
Yeah, where he's having that, like, where he's giving his TED talk, that whole thing. And he gets confronted
where
by the bomb.
Alfie Woodard comes up and pushes the picture into his chest. It's such a good scene.
Well, the way that he delivers that later, and he's just, oh man, I know we'll get to that film, but he's like, how does he deliver it? Well, he was down there, while we were too busy kicking ass, or something like that. Just that there were people around us that we didn't notice. I know and again, Robert Downey Jr. just delivers it so well.
Yeah, and here we have they take that scene later and lead it into reuse it for Thor Ragnarok, because this is the Quinjet from Ragnarok.
Yeah.
I like that.
Oh, now okay.
Like that big.
I know some people who don't like this dialogue exchange. I love it, but what do you think?
This is great.
I feel like this is really good dialogue.
I love the joke at the end. Well, I was born yesterday.
Yeah. Well, it's just enough humor where, one, it is true, which helps, but it's a beautifully shot scene. Just the sun back there, the CG is perfect as far as just how the robot looks, and I mean, Vision looks amazing. Oh, and both disappointments.
Yeah. Like everything, the way that the dialogue is so tit for tat, it like everything. You're afraid of of death, and it's just like every line leads into the next one very well.
Yeah,
and it makes a point. It follows through with its point. It deals with a lot of their like their own worst enemies.
Yeah,
they're their own.
I feel like
enemies.
there's ultimately too what Vision is saying is true. And yeah, it is a kind of really stripped down, kind of poetic way of looking at it. There's a lot of nuance he's leaving out, but there's also, I don't know, it's maybe it's selfish of us as people to be like, oh, we want to be thought of that way, but it's we want to think that there is something worthwhile in our failings, right? And then just I love the cut back to the light in the trees. Just it's a really beautiful way to kind of end your villain. I mean, I do think again that they kind of took a big villain like Ultron and wasted him on one film. Wish they could have found more to do with him. This is a great scene.
I'm going to talk about that later. Let me tell you.
Love that they give. I'm glad that they went back and they gave this scene. Just a moment. You needed it.
Yeah. Well, you kind of needed everybody to have their moment of like resolve. You've already had the Hulks.
Yep.
And there's Bartons because you didn't really have anything else to do with them. New Avengers facility in upstate New York.
Well, I think
And
for Barton, him getting home was the. Oh, wait a minute.
see, okay, she's alive. There's Cho.
She is right there. You're right. Yeah, I just saw her and I was thinking the same thing. Like, she's right there.
This is one of those things that never got followed up on that made me sad. We never got to really see this facility in action. In fact, literally, we see it one more time in Ant-Man, and then we hear about it being closed.
Well, no, this is where Thanos attacks.
Yeah. But still, this is where there is dialogue about it being closed in one of the Spider-Man movies. And
oh yeah. You're right.
Yeah.
Well, because the Avengers kind of, get disbanded. I mean, at the end of Civil War, right?
Mm-hmm. But it's just we have this promise. We're seeing Selvig studying. We're seeing Cho there setting up the lab. And we don't get a movie where this is like a base of operations and we see them working together as a team. And there's a missing movie in between this and Captain America Civil War where we get to see a fully functional and operational Avengers.
You could have had you should have had another Avengers movie with Cap leading it that didn't have Tony in it, where you did have this team, where you gave them a movie, and then have Civil War, and then go on to Infinity and Endgame, right?
Yeah, I wish that could have happened. Here's the elevator thing.
He can wield the hammer. He can keep the Mind Stone.
Yeah, that's an important one. This really sets up a lot.
Because they are
an elevator.
Elevator's not worthy. Yeah, I was thinking this was earlier. You're right.
Yeah,
it's a good way that they're mixing a little bit of humor in with acknowledging some points about they're trying to make sure that the Infinity Stones they're not keeping them together, right? They want one with the Collector, one in Asgard, one's with the Nova Corps, right, and one's here on Earth now.
Yeah. This shirt that he's wearing with just like this purple stripe. It's weird. Like, I don't know how to feel about that.
That man has,
I love the lawn care line here.
Lawn care.
Because I like the consistency of keeping up with that.
Oh man, it's good.
So I have this whole thing. I'll talk about it a little bit more probably while the credits are running, because I think that they should have had hints throughout the movies that Ultron was still around. Okay. And then they should have used Ultron immediately after Endgame as a minor in-between villain to help set up the next Avengers threat, the next Avengers cycle. They needed a bridge between the Infinity Saga and the next stage of the Avengers, and I think Ultron would have been perfect for it if they had just taken a little bit of time to set one up. And they didn't, and it's this.
Yeah, well, they could have followed up on the themes more, and you could have done it without Tony, or with Tony in a very minor role. Like you and Tony were still gazing in each other's eyes.
Okay, this right here, her entire stomach is CG right now. She's very pregnant in this shot.
I mean, look, you know what? It's a good CG as far as like I wouldn't have guessed.
Yeah. And okay, so right here, they filmed multiple different versions of this. That scene is from Ant-Man. That was going to be Carol Danvers. That was going to be Captain Marvel.
Her face looked odd there. Like, was it just an odd angle, or was it a little bit CG?
I think it was makeup and CG. I love that costume, though. I had a friend who cosplayed that, and she looked amazing. Like, great. All right. What do you think of this statue?
It's odd.
What are you saying?
I think that it's too, I don't know, going for the whole kind of like, I mean, I'm assuming they're going for like a marble or some kind of Greek.
No, they made it.
They did make it. I don't honestly like it too much. Maybe I'm weird, but I actually find it to be kind of boring.
If I could find a way to 3D print this thing, oh my god!
I think that
with
with color it could be fine, but again, I was thinking about the promo work for Halo 3 and the diorama that they built for that, which was just so amazing. I think it's just the fact that there's no color on it. Just it doesn't make me.
I like the marble look. I thought it was cool looking. I thought it had a lot of personality.
Yeah, I don't know why.
Because there's something very Greek myth about it with the
Oh, yeah.
marble statues and everything. It has this kind of mythological scope to it. I guess I'm just weird.
No, you're fine. I don't like his blast. It looks like
It
an
does
ice
look
cream
kind of like
cone.
a Christmas tree. Or that.
Yeah. I mean,
man,
I'm not
ice
like,
cream.
yeah, I don't hate it or anything. I don't know. I always found this to be one of the weakest credit things. I mean, Marvel's done some really cool graphics over the main credits when they go through the cast essentially, and I've always found
I
this to
thought
be
it was
one of the
really
weakest.
interesting, though. I thought it was one of the most unique.
That's all right.
And the music, that's the music I'm talking about right there.
We don't have to agree on everything. It's all right.
You're wrong, Brian. We must agree on everything. You must agree with me. Okay, and here we have this scene. This pisses me off. It's not a bad end credit scene, but it doesn't belong here.
No.
Unless you were going to hint that
Well, we
he
talked
was
about this last
somehow
week.
controlling the events of Ultron.
Yeah. No. That should have been in Guardians.
Mm-hmm.
As much of a laugh as Howard the Duck was, that should have been in Guardians.
Yeah. Or Guardians
it's-
should have had like a mid-credit scene. Or did Guardians have a mid-credit scene?
Um,
Dancing Groot.
Yeah,
Groot.
yeah. It had Dancing Groot, and then it had Howard the Duck. No, because that is absolutely where that belonged. Because Thanos, had one of his minions once again go off and try to do his own thing, and have it would have fit perfectly in Guardians. I truly think that was just a studio head being, or somebody, whether it was Kevin Feige or somebody else, just being like, well, we've got to remind people about Thanos in a movie that had nothing to do with Thanos.
You see, okay, here's what I'm thinking. I wonder if there wasn't a scene, whether it was ever shot or if it was like just in the script or something, or one of the things that people wanted to push on him. Like, imagine if you just dang it, I cannot get the words out.
Wow.
I wonder if there wasn't a scene where he was like, Ultron was looking at the Mind Stone and accidentally like communicates with Thanos, and Thanos is like, what you have there is very powerful, it belongs to me, and there's some sort of like, he tries to convince Ultron to give it to him, and Ultron's just like, nah, I'm gonna be more powerful than you ever will be, I'm taking it for myself, and blah blah blah. And if there wasn't some sort of like Infinity Stone shenanigan dialogue between them that sets up Thanos a little bit more, that they ended up not using, I bet that something like that existed at one point.
I can see that. This is the least, even though it's funny that this movie had just so much lifting to set up the Infinity Saga, and other than the fact that the stones are what Thanos is after, this is probably the least Thanos related, because at least in the first Avengers, even though it was kind of an afterthought, they did have them, ultimately be sent by Thanos, the invaders. Mm-hmm. So there's that. And then, from here on out, they do a good job of kind of reminding you and keeping, Thanos in the overarching plot. But yeah, this movie, you could tell this movie was stuck in that, when it was being written and developed, stuck in that time where they hadn't fully figured out what they were going to do. And this movie was torn between two different agendas.
Yeah, I think that there was, I think there was a plan being created while this movie was in production that clashed with the movie in production. They tried to force them together, which is what created so much of this just weird tone to the whole thing.
Yeah. Well, because there was the immediate, again, people forget sometimes what an insane success Avengers was. What an insane success it was that Joss Whedon did it. I mean, how much of the credit was kind of laid at his feet, and I think, to be fair, he deserves a decent amount of the credit for that. But it was an unknown thing. They expected it to be a big deal, but it wasn't expected to be as big as it was. I mean, it broke so many records. It made so much money.
Absolutely changed the industry.
Yeah, and so there was the immediate, we need the whole thing. We need Avengers immediately, as soon as we can. Let's get Joss back. Let's, there was just the response to that film and wanting to capture that again with, as much of the team back as they could. But at the same time, you had the greater Marvel engine going, right? With the rest of the films and the creative forces. And they, it's like they, tried to mash together those two things when this movie was probably halfway done. And it is what we a lot of our frustrations boil down to that. This movie it's not even like, oh, it might have been. I am sure this movie would have been better if it had been given the room to just be what Joss wanted it to be, and then they had continued on with their plans after it when they had them fully fleshed out and could have written. They could have delayed the Infinity Saga by another year or two to give room for another Avengers movie where you could from the beginning write it the way you want to kind of write to lead into it better and give this kind of second Avengers team that we never see really do anything, tie it into Ant-Man, maybe I don't know. Again, this is a frustrating movie because if it had just been Joss's vision for his themes and his characters, I think we would have had something a little bit more fondly remembered.
I think maybe, but at the same time, there's so much that is in this movie that directly leads into the next ones in such a satisfying way that I almost don't want anything changed as much as I like kind of considering it. It's a hard question. Is there a world out there where things work out better? This is like a really fondly remembered movie and we're able to have just as satisfying a conclusion. Sure, but I can't necessarily see it. And I don't know.
Yeah, it's fun.
There's grace in its failings.
Very nice. Very nice. Oh, man. See, we have these long credits. It's a long movie.
Incredibly long.
What is the final sequence?
There become Blur Studios, Secret Labs, and Black Ginger, in addition to Industrial Light and Magic. Black Ginger I haven't heard as much around. I think they might have caved. But
Blur...
Those are Blur
has done. They kind of exploded on the scenes doing cutscenes for video games, correct? Like they did the Halo remastered cutscenes and the stuff for Halo Wars. There's some really, some spectacular stuff for Halo, I know. And then there was one other game I'm thinking of. I'm trying to remember what it was that they did all the cutscenes for, and they're just very good, like really, really good. Is there another? I don't think there is another end credit scene here. Is there?
Yeah. Yeah?
Am I crazy? What is it?
Okay, now I'm wondering. Is there...
I thought it was just Thanos.
No, I think there's got to be an end credit scene, because there's an end credit scene in every single one of them. That's like a thing all the way up until Endgame. Sometimes they don't have mid-credit scenes, but they always have end credit scenes. I just can't remember what it is.
I do not remember what this is at all. I am totally blanking on what other scene is at the end of this thing.
Man, so am I.
And
I guess we're gonna be surprised.
And we think that we're fans.
What's our end credit scene? I know this. How
just a trick to keep us in the theaters for the entire credits for all these movies.
Oh my God, right?
Oh gosh! All right, so here we are.
The
Avengers will return.
And oh my gosh, that's it.
There's no
end credit scene.
That's it. Yeah.
What?
It was just the one with Thanos.
Oh my gosh! What absolute bastards!
They just got us to sit through the credits. Oh gosh! My goodness.
See, I love what this movie brings, both in terms of like, Paul Bettany as Vision, Elizabeth Olsen as Wanda / Scarlet Witch. I love those additions. I love James Spader as Ultron. I love the moments that they set up that are followed up on so well in Endgame and Infinity War and Civil War and even further ones. So it's just like the groundwork that's created is so good. The music, the costuming, it's just there's something about the pacing. There's something about the amount of action and just not flushing out the characters. Not like none of the Avengers really have character growth outside of like Hawkeye.
Yeah.
And there's just like there's missing character beats that don't mesh. And I really wish that we had just had a little bit more time with that. Now, where would you put this in terms of ranking, Mr. Brian?
That's a hard one. To me, this belongs in the... I've always kind of put the MCU into 3 broad tiers. Your upper level, your middle, and your lower level. Phase 4 definitely kind of threw that thing into a loop because the bottom got crowded in a hurry. I've always felt that this was in the bottom half of that middle pack of films for me.
Bottom half of the middle pack. Okay.
You know what I mean? Like if you have the group of like the premiere stuff, the stuff that just, Winter Soldier, the first Iron Man, the first Guardians, stuff like that, where it's just like these are films that you could ask me to watch anytime, and I'd be like, yep, let's do it. And then there's the movies in the middle where it's like I'm perfectly happy to watch them when you go through the MCU in order. You're like, yep, these are part of it. They have their highs and their lows. But there's still movies that I will enjoy. It to me, it goes in that pack. It goes in that. I would give it a B. Does that make sense?
Very much so, because looking at my ranking that I went over with you like twice in the last year.
Yes, we've done this a few times now. That's okay though.
We've done this a few times. I have it solidly as a B.
Yeah. No, for me, it would be very much there too.
Because like the things that I have as a C, I have things like Iron Man 2, Iron Man 3, Thor: Dark World, Ant-Man and the Wasp, Captain Marvel, things like that. Eternals. Those are all I have as C's, right? So, and I think that Age of Ultron is genuinely better than those, but it's also not as good as stuff like The Winter Soldier and Guardians of the Galaxy, Civil War, Spider-Man: Homecoming, Thor: Ragnarok, Black Panther, Infinity War, Endgame, and so on.
Yeah, I would agree completely. Yeah, no, I think that we both. I think this is one of the films that we feel very, very similar on. So yeah, that makes it easy.
Yeah,
but
also
next
some disagreements, of course.
That's right. Next week though, and this will be it for the MCU for a while. We are going to finish up Phase 2 with Ant-Man, which I actually love that movie. But I'm not sure.
It's great.
It's okay. I was going to say I'm not going to try to argue that it's as good as Winter Soldier or Iron Man 1 or that kind of thing. But it's just such a fun movie, and I think that
it's a completely different vibe. It's a
Yeah.
completely different vibe as to the others. It's not trying to be tear jerking. It's trying to be an action adventure.
Yeah.
Not just a superhero action movie like Winter Soldier. It's much more in line with Guardians of the Galaxy, but it has such a different feel. It feels like a 90s movie.
Yeah. You're right. It does.
It's been updated with modern technology.
Yeah. So
And
I'm looking forward to that.
Behind the scenes we can talk about.
Oh yeah. The making of that movie, and man, as much as I like Ant-Man, and I would love to see the Edgar Wright movie at some point, even though that doesn't actually exist. But we will talk about that next week. So I hope you guys will join us. Well, this has been Age of Ultron, and have a good night, everybody.
Good night.
There's doors and corners, kid. If you don't clear the room, if you don't come in slow,